Chapter 195. At this moment, when Xiao Chen saw Mu Xinya's expression, he had very complicated feelings. He hated this woman for being vicious and merciless, but he also sympathized with her. From the very start, she had fallen into the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's trap. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion only wanted to use her to break the Fiend Sealing Stone and release the Fiend King. Then, they would kill the Fiend King and take its 1,000 years of cultivation. The Fiend Sealing Stone was a strange stone of heaven and earth. It absorbed the essence of the sun and moon, as well as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It formed naturally and contained a huge amount of energy. Aside from an ancient forbidden weapon, nothing could break it. At this moment, Xiao Chen understood that there was no such thing as absolute good or evil in this world. In terms of ruthlessness, the people of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion were even more ruthless than Mu Xinya. In order to not alert the enemy, they abandoned all the miners in the tunnels. Xiao Chen could roughly understand why the Heavenly Saber Pavilion did this. The calamity from 20 years ago had greatly weakened the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. All the sage cultivators had probably died in that calamity. As a result, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, which had been passed down for tens of thousands of years, had a huge gap in its strength. The huge Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not even have a single sage. In order to make up for this huge gap, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had no choice but to use this Fiend King that had been locked up for 1,000 years. Be it its spirit core, skin, flesh, bones, or blood, they were all very valuable. As for Mu Xinya, she was completely clueless about all this. In the end, not only did she end up benefiting others, she even lost her life. No, the fate of the Heavenly Wolf race cannot end like this. Mu Xinya revealed a resolute expression. She did her best to gather her aura, preparing to fight to the death. Xiao Chen pulled her back. Although he could not use his essence, he still had his strength. Mu Xinya could not struggle free immediately. Sending yourself to death? You should leave quickly. The people of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion noticed your plan long ago. The ending was decided from the start. Mu Xinya looked at Xiao Chen in astonishment. She did not expect Xiao Chen, who wanted to kill her earlier, to pull her back at this moment. Mu Xinya used some force and shook off Xiao Chen's hand. She smiled and said, "Senior Brother Yi, I told you before. My parents told me to come here. Actually, I was not willing. Everyone is afraid of death, but since we're already here, there's no way out. The Celestial Wolf Clan also has no way out." Her smile was as bright and beautiful as ever. With a light tap of his feet, his figure swayed on the surface of the river, and he immediately arrived at the other side of the river, joining the battle. On the opposite bank, Yi Wen's entire body was emitting a golden light. He placed his hand on the wooden box and did not move at all. There were figures of light flying out of the wooden box continuously. The 9 martial kings behind him did not even make a move. With just a ray of light from the divine weapon in the wooden box, the people from the Running Corpse sect could not advance at all. The first saber light that was released directly split the 3 corpse kings that the Running Corpse sect entrusted with heavy responsibilities into 2 halves. After that, the light shadow carried a peerless blade edge and swept through the air. The light shadow was dazzling, and the blade light shot out in all directions. The people of Running Corpse sect reacted, and were no longer instantly killed by the saber light. However, they could only dodge in all directions and could not find a chance to counterattack. As Supervisor Li dodged the wanton saber light in the air, he continuously made hand gestures, trying to reassemble the 3 corpse kings on the ground. The corpse kings already possessed an undying body. If one could not instantly shatter them, it would be very difficult to truly destroy them. As long as the controller was not dead, one could use a secret technique to revive them. If the 3 corpse kings could revive, they might be able to turn the situation around. Supervisor Li could already tell that Yi Wen could not completely control that divine weapon. The saber light in the air no longer had its initial sharp aura. This was a clear indication of the problem. It was not that the 9 people behind Supervisor Lee did not want to make a move, but that they could not. They used the ground under their feet to transfer their essence to Yi-Wen, allowing him to hold on. Even so, Supervisor Lee felt extremely anxious. Due to the lack of physical strength, the black-clothed men controlling the Corpse Kings had all been killed. Only Supervisor Lee could barely hold on. Normally, because the strength of this Corpse King was too horrifying, it required 3 people to control it. Now that he was the only one left, it would be very difficult to revive it. Hu Chi. A silver figure in the air flew past everyone's heads at lightning speed, heading for Yi-Wen. A huge silver wolf appeared behind her. This was the totem of the heavenly wolf race. It possessed a horrifying might. The huge wolf roared ferociously, creating a heavy sound wave. Shao Chen shattered all the light figures attacking Mu Xinya. Then, he quickly descended. Mu Xinya's right hand pulled back in the air, creating 5 sharp claw marks as she attacked Yi-Wen. The 5 claw marks were as sharp as sabers. They gave off a chi-chi sound in the air. In the blink of an eye, they turned into 5 streams of scarlet energy. As the wind blew, they grew to more than 10 meters in an instant. Yi-Wen did not dare to be careless. He pointed with his other hand and a golden humanoid figure quickly appeared from his body. Clone Chop. This was the secret technique of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Jade Maiden Peak. Yi-Wen learned it after he left Qingyun Peak. Now that he had the might of the divine weapon, its might was much more horrifying than usual. The figure of light was like a real person. After Mu Xinya dodged an attack, it immediately turned around nimbly and continued attacking. Mu Xinya changed her position 3 times in the air, but she still could not shake off the attack of the figure of light. Mu Xinya slowly calmed down and did her best to remain calm. She released her perception in the air with all her might. After a while, her face lit up with joy. She said indifferently, "Found it." Mu Xinya spun around in the air and swung her hands. A few invisible lights were instantly severed. Yi-Wen used the clone chop and the figure he controlled immediately fell. It turned out that the secret of the clone chop's agility lay in these invisible lights. As long as the lights were severed, the figure of light could no longer be controlled. Ha! Just as Mu Xinya was about to fall, she shouted and leaped into the air like a ferocious wolf. She flew over Yi-Wen's head and landed on the 9 martial kings behind him. Not good, Yi-Wen cried out in his heart. Although Mu Xinya's cultivation realm was not high, if she were to fall, the 9 people behind her would suffer a calamity. These people had to pass their essence to him. There was no way for them to make a move. Right now, any one of them could easily kill these martial kings, who were usually insufferably arrogant. If one of the 9 were killed, the divine weapon that Yi-Wen could barely control would immediately crumble. It would be countered by the divine weapon. Bang! Thinking of this, Yi-Wen's expression turned grave. He took a deep breath and smacked the wooden box with his right hand. A ripple immediately spread out and bounced Mu Xinya back with a boom. Mu Xinya vomited a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. Yi-Wen, who had executed this move, had an unsightly expression. The speed of the light that flew out of the wooden box also slowed down. The people of the Running Corpse sect, who had been exhausted from dealing with the attacks, finally had a chance to catch their breath. Supervisor Lee took advantage of this opportunity and quickly formed hand seals. The 2 halves of the Corpse King's body slowly merged together. Bang! 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 Just at this moment, there was an unending chain of explosions within the 9 Saber Demon Punishing Formation. Cracks appeared in the space sealed by the soul chains before it shattered. The 9 Saber Demon Punishing Formation was broken. Everyone stared at this scene in astonishment. Soon after, they came to their senses and immediately retreated, fleeing from this region. The destruction of a small world had created such a destructive power. Even a martial king would not dare to face it head-on. Bang! A deafening sound rang out and the void shattered. The entire underground cavern shook incessantly. The water in the underground river surged and huge rocks fell from the top of the cavern. Xiao Chen carefully dodged the huge rocks above him. He did his best to balance his body. At this moment, he could not use his essence. If he fell, he might be smashed by the huge rocks before he could get back up. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! 12 figures flew out of the 9-saber demon punishing formation. The soul holy weapons and soul chains in their hands had already shattered. All of their faces were incomparably pale. Ha ha ha! The 9-saber demon punishing formation is only SOSO. A desolate laughter came from within the surging dust. When the dust settled, the Heavenly Wolf King's stout figure slowly appeared. There were no other injuries on his body. His silver hair fluttered in the wind and his aura was as ferocious as before. The soul holy weapons specialized in attacking the soul. If a soul was destroyed, leaving behind an empty shell, naturally, it would not be able to exist alone in the world. The reason why Ling Tianjing and the others chose to use the soul holy weapons to attack the Heavenly Wolf King was because his physical body was much stronger than a regular person's. If they used a physical weapon, it would not have much of an effect. However, they did not expect that even though the Heavenly Wolf King had only recovered a fifth of his strength, his soul energy was much stronger than his physical body. The 9-saber demon punishing formation materialized a total of 81 formations and 9,999 killing move. Even with the soul holy weapons, they still could not do anything to the Heavenly Wolf King. After attacking for a long time, the Heavenly Wolf King actually found the weak point of the 9-saber demon punishing formation. He attacked with all his might and shattered this small space. The Heavenly Wolf King's aura flourished and filled the sky. His gaze was like a torch as he scanned the surroundings. Everywhere his gaze passed, it caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. Hey! The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's divine weapon? The Heavenly Wolf King's gaze landed on the wooden box in Yi Wen's hand. His face lit up in joy as he said, "With this divine weapon, our chances of obtaining the Spirit Vein's origin will be higher." Withdraw. The Heavenly Wolf King spread his fingers and sent out a huge force, traveling a distance of several dozen meters. Yuan felt his grip loosen and the wooden box was already in the Heavenly Wolf King's hands. The situation of the entire place turned around in an instant. Xiao Qin watched all this in astonishment. He originally thought that the 12 Supreme Elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would work together to execute the 9-saber demon punishing formation. Against the Heavenly Wolf King, who had lost his sharpness after being imprisoned for 1,000 years, it would be easy. There were no surprises. Xiao Chen did not expect the 9-saber demon punishing formation to break so easily. Although the Heavenly Wolf King's soul energy was significantly weakened, the 12 Supreme Elders suffered from the backlash of the formation. They were even more injured. They could not do anything to the Heavenly Wolf King. They could only watch as he obtained the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's divine weapon. Actually, if the 9-saber demon punishing formation had been laid with a physical weapon, there might have been a different effect. The Heavenly Wolf King's body hadn't moved much in the past 1,000 years, so its bodily functions had definitely been weakened. Chapter 196. However, soul strength was different. In the past 1,000 years, the Heavenly Wolf King had been cultivating his soul strength when he was bored. Xiao Qin could not be bothered with all this. He was currently doing his best to break the Corpse King imprint in his body. His spiritual sense turned into tens of thousands of arrows, shooting at the cage in his dantian. As long as a strand of spiritual sense could enter and contact the blue dragon martial spirit, he was confident of working together to destroy the Corpse King imprint. The black cage slowly spun. The Corpse King, who had been sitting on it the whole time, swept its gaze across. The arrows formed by the spiritual sense were all destroyed. Xiao Chen did not give up. He looked for an opportunity to play hide and seek with the Corpse King with his spiritual sense. When Supervisor Lee saw the situation turn around, he revealed a sinister smile. He controlled the Corpse King and the 10 Corpse Monarchs to charge at Yi-1 and the others. The commotion was very vast. All the Divine Saber Camp's bladesmen who were still able to fight rushed over and started a chaotic battle. Sand and rocks flew and a strong wind blew. The scene became intense once again. On the other side, of the 12 Heavenly Saber Pavilion Supreme Elders, the one with the highest cultivation, Shen Manjun, said sullenly, "There is no need to worry. The divine weapon cannot bring out its full strength in his hands. The damage to his soul is also greater than we imagined." An old man at the side added, "That's right. If we continue to attack, there is still a chance." The Heavenly Wolf King smiled coldly and used some force to knock open the wooden box in his hand. He said, "Let me take out this divine weapon that no one can wield. Let's see who can stop me then." The wooden box shattered into pieces and an ancient saber appeared. The saber was about 1 meter and 2 centimeters long. There were all sorts of ancient talisman scripts carved on the scabbard. The saber gave off a reserved glow and spiritual energy spread out. The Heavenly Wolf King's expression turned cold. He grabbed the saber hilt with his right hand and used a huge force to pull it out. Ka-ca. Before the astonished gazes of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's people, the Heavenly Wolf King managed to pull the saber out by 1 centimeter. The Heavenly Wolf King's face lit up in joy. If he could pull out this divine weapon, even if his soul energy was injured, he would only be able to bring out a fifth of his strength. Even if he had to face the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he would not fear it. "Stop him, we can't let him pull out the Tianyu blade, otherwise the entire spirit mine will be destroyed." Ling Tianjing roared. 12 figures executed their best moves as they flew at the Heavenly Wolf King with lightning speed. Boom! Before the Heavenly Wolf King's smile faded, the saber revealed 2 centimeters. Suddenly, it released an intense, piercing, and dazzling light. A destructive energy came from the saber. Time seemed to come to a standstill. Everyone in the cavern was frozen in place. Their hearts were as clear as a mirror, and yet they couldn't move their bodies. A faint blue energy ripple spread out in the air, and in the face of this irresistible power, the Celestial Wolf King bore the brunt of the attack. Despite how powerful he was instantly sent flying. Xiao Chen spat out a mouthful of blood. After he landed on the ground, the energy in the divine saber entered his body, giving off a crackling sound. His body kept rolling on the ground, and after a while, he turned back into a giant silver wolf that was more than 50 meters tall. No one had expected such a result. The insufferably arrogant Heavenly Wolf King was actually knocked back to his original form by a ripple from the divine saber. If all the divine weapons were drawn, how strong would they be? After the Heavenly Universe saber released an intense light, the saber immediately returned to its scabbard and floated quietly in the air. The horrifying energy instantly vanished. Dang! 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 The broken wooden box on the ground quickly flew into the air and reformed, storing the divine weapon Heavenly Universe saber inside. Instantly, the aura of the divine weapon vanished. Everyone's bodies returned to normal. Shen Manjun stretched out her hand, and the wooden box flew back into her grasp. She glanced at the Heavenly Wolf King and said expressionlessly, "I forgot. These 10 divine weapons were forged in the ancient era for the purpose of fighting against the Fiend race. As a member of the Fiend race, without the strength of a Fiend Emperor, he actually dares to pull out the divine weapons of humans. He overestimates himself. There is no need to care about him. He suffered a backlash from the divine weapon and will not be able to use his strength for a period of time." Lung Tianjing nodded and said, "Go and deal with the remnants of the running corpse sect first. Then we will discuss how to deal with this beast." With the addition of the 12 Heavenly Saber Pavilion Supreme Elders, the running corpse sect no longer had the strength to resist. They could not retaliate and were forced into a retreat. A corpse monarch tried to use the earth evasion technique to escape. However, Lung Tianjing discovered it. He snorted coldly and stomped on the ground. The ground trembled like water, and the corpse monarch was knocked out. Mu Xinya took advantage of the chaos and sneaked over to the Heavenly Wolf King's side. With the Heavenly Wolf King's huge body as a cover, the people of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not discover the petite Mu Xinya. Sage Ancestor, are you all right? Mu Xinya whispered anxiously into the Heavenly Wolf King's ear. Blood flowed out of the Heavenly Wolf King's mouth continuously. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. He was just one step away from obtaining the Spirit Vein's origin and advancing to Flying Fiend Emperor. He would become the first person in thousands of years. Under his leadership, the Heavenly Wolf race would rule the world. The entire Fiend race would rise once again. However, in the end, all his efforts would be for naught. One wrong step and he would fall into a bottomless abyss, losing everything. The Heavenly Wolf King turned its huge head slightly and looked at Mu Xinya in front of it. It slowly raised its left claw and used its sharp claws to make a crescent wound on Mu Xinya's forehead. Blood immediately spurted out from Mu Xinya's forehead. She was startled. She knew what the Heavenly Wolf King was going to do. She said, "Sage Ancestor, you can't." On the other side of the battlefield, the people of the Running Corpse sect had already been mostly wiped out. Only a few corpse monarchs were still resisting tenaciously. The Corpse King controlled by Supervisor Li had been crushed into dust by the three martial monarch supreme elders. There was no way for him to revive. Suddenly, boundless black qi came out from Xiao Chen's pores. When the black qi dissipated, the Corpse King imprint in his body instantly vanished. It turned out that the corpse monarch that had used the Corpse King imprint had already been killed by one of the supreme elders. Naturally, the Corpse King imprint that he had set up had dissipated. When the essence returned to Xiao Chen's meridians, his face lit up in joy. His body had completely recovered. Xiao Chen thought to himself, "Since I no longer have anything to worry about, I should leave this place." Who? Just as Xiao Chen was preparing to leave, a figure tore through the air and arrived before Xiao Chen at lightning speed. Without saying anything, he attacked. That figure was the Biyun Peak's peak master, Song Quebec. He had accidentally seen Xiao Chen's figure earlier. A killing intent instantly surged out. He immediately stopped fighting and flew towards Xiao Chen at lightning speed. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation realm, he could not even see the trajectory of a peak martial king's movement technique and the speed of his attack. He could not react in time. Xiao Chen immediately received a punch to his dantian. Song Kei's new and old grudges merged together. He did not hold back in this punch at all. Bang! Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with shock. His body flew into the air like a kite with its string cut. The blue dragon, which had just regained its freedom, was smashed into pieces by this peak martial king's punch. It turned into balls of azure light and dissipated within his body. Spiritual energy flowed out of his body like flowing water. Xiao Chen thought in horror, "It's over, my martial spirit is destroyed. I am crippled for life." This was Xiao Chen's last thought. Before he had the time to think further, he had already fainted. With a piu tong sound, he sank into the underground river. The rapid current of the river immediately washed Xiao Chen's body downstream. Yi Chen. Yuan sent a corpse flying with a palm strike. He was completely stunned by this sudden turn of events. He looked angrily at Song Kei and revealed a sinister expression. He said, "How dare you kill my Qingyun Peak's disciple? I want your life." Yuan pushed his feet off the ground, and he had already crossed the river and arrived beside Song Quebec. The small saber in his hand created a cool breeze. The saber was hidden in the cool breeze as it chopped towards Song Kei's chest. The two of them were both martial kings. Song Kei's cultivation was originally much higher than Yi Wen's. However, he had suffered from the backlash of the 9-saber demon punishing formation earlier. Furthermore, he had used his full power in that earlier attack. At this moment, His essence was insufficient. When the great perfection clear wind chop was executed, the saber could not be seen at all. It was impossible to defend against. Song Ke dodged in a sorry state. He could not even catch his breath. He was actually beaten up in such a manner. Go to hell! Yiwen suddenly roared. The saber hidden in the cool breeze suddenly moved closer to Song Quebec. It spun very quickly. This was another secret technique of Qingyun Peak, mysterious wind chop. Song Ke originally thought this attack was still the clear wind chop. He was caught off guard. The spinning saber created countless air current. It was very fast. At such a close distance, it was impossible to dodge. Damn it, I was too careless. I actually allowed him to execute the mysterious wind chop at such a close distance, Song Ke thought vexedly. Actually, he had not expected that Yiwen would actually kill him, a peak master, for the sake of an insignificant Shao Qin. Even though Song Ke had already retreated quickly to the side, the speed of the mysterious wind chop was simply too fast. Song Ke had no way of dodging it. Pu Si. One of Song Ke's arms was chopped off. The mysterious wind formed by the saber instantly tore his arm into pieces. A large amount of blood and flesh scattered in the air. Ah! Song Ke cried out in pain. He looked at his left arm, which had been smashed into pieces. His face revealed a horrified expression. He could not believe what had happened. Die! Yiwen turned around and kicked the distracted Song Quebec. He waved the small saber in his hand in the air. The saber left a few afterimages in the air, piercing towards Song Ke's heart. When it was only an inch away from Song Ke's chest, a few Supreme Elders saw the situation and rushed over. A martial monarch Supreme Elder made his move at lightning speed. He stretched out his fingers and caught the saber that Yiwen was thrusting at him with. He shouted angrily, Yiwen, what are you trying to do? You are going against your superiors. Are you tired of living? Yiwen used some force and twisted his wrist, freeing the small saber from the old man's fingers. He said indifferently, killing a fellow disciple for no reason. Even if he is a peak master, he has to die. Is the matter of a peak master something for an insignificant elder like you to speak? The Law Enforcement Hall will investigate the matter and give justice to your Qingyun Peak disciple, a Supreme Elder at the side said. Chapter 197. Yiwen smiled coldly and said, Law Enforcement Hall? What a joke. You are already so old, yet you still dare to speak of the Tao of the Law Enforcement Hall. Impudent. Seeing that Yiwen did not care about them, one of the Supreme Elders could not help but feel embarrassed. He could not help but send a palm strike at Yiwen. Martial monarchs could already comprehend the laws of space. Although the old man's palm strike was an ordinary one, after it was infused with the laws of space, it was clearly extraordinary and unfathomable. The palm wind was clearly heading for Yiwen's chest. In the end, just as Yiwen was about to receive it, the palm wind suddenly disappeared and attacked his side. Boom! The difference in cultivation was too great. Yiwen was a medial-grade martial king. However, this ordinary palm strike knocked him back. He vomited a large mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. Who? Shin Manjun, who had finally killed all the running corpse monarchs, leaped into the air. Her footsteps were light, as though she was taking a stroll in the park. In an instant she arrived beside the crowd. Before everyone's surprised gazes, Shen Manjuan's lily-white hands flew towards Song Ke, who was being supported by two Supreme Elders. There was a loud bang and a formless palm landed on Song Ke's body. Song Ke immediately struggled free from the support of the two Supreme Elders. Huang huang huang. Song Ke tumbled back continuously until he reached the side of the underground river before he stopped. Song Ke's expression was extremely miserable. He got up and asked, Martial Ant Shin, why? The two Supreme Elders, who were in front of Yiwen earlier, did not dare to say anything when Shin Manjun made a move. There was no other reason than Shin Manjuan's seniority was the highest. She was also the strongest. Looking at her appearance, it was clear that she was very angry. No matter how good her relationship with Song Ke was, she did not dare to say anything at this moment. She could only think that Song Ke was unlucky. Shin Manjun snorted coldly. Her expression was as cold as frost. She could not be bothered with him. She slowly walked to the side of the underground river and looked at the rushing water. She frowned slightly. Suddenly, Shin Manjun shouted, and all the essence in her body surged. Her clothes fluttered non-stop, and her aura rose rapidly. A strong wind blew, whistling non-stop. She ferociously sent a palm strike towards the riverbank. Wah! In the hundreds of meters of river that ran through the entire underground cave, the rushing river water immediately churned. In the river, there was not a single drop of water left, and all kinds of fish in the water fell continuously. Shin Manjun quickly glanced at the river, but she did not see Xiao Chen's figure. The turbulent underground river had already washed Xiao Chen's body to God knows where. Sighing, he waved his hand, and the river water that was a few meters in the air fell back down with a loud boom. This was the strength of a peak martial monarch. With a flip of their palm, they could cause the rivers to flow in reverse and surge. Shin Manjun stood by the river and pondered for a long time before leaving the shore. Puff! Seeing that Shin Manjuan's anger seemed to have subsided, everyone thought that they were about to heave a sigh of relief. However, the Heavenly Wolf King's gigantic body suddenly let out a crisp sound that resounded throughout the cave. Everyone looked over and saw Mu Xinya's body floating quietly in the air. She closed her eyes, her clothes fluttering, and her silver hair dancing in the wind. There was a silver crescent moon between her eyebrows, and it rippled as smooth as a mirror. Not good. The Heavenly Wolf King passed down his strength to this girl, Leng Tianjing said loudly. A supreme elder at the side cried out hoarsely, "Earlier, we were all distracted by what happened here. We did not notice the Heavenly Wolf King at all." After this supreme elder spoke, everyone looked at the one-armed Song Ke with resentment. If he had not killed Xiao Chen, there would not be so many problems. Otherwise, how could the Heavenly Wolf King have the opportunity to pass down his strength to Mu Xinya under their noses? Once he passed down his strength, it would be impossible to snatch it back from Mu Xinya. This was because Mu Xinya's current cultivation had not reached the stage where she could condense a sage core. If she was killed, the energy that the Heavenly Wolf King inherited would scatter into the world. Furthermore, the more horrifying thing was that the instant before this girl died, the Heavenly Wolf King's 1,000-year cultivation would explode. The entire underground cave would collapse. Of the people present, only a few would be able to survive the explosion. The others would not be able to escape unscathed. This was also the reason why no one made a move even though they were furious. How hateful! Shin Manjun shouted and sent a palm strike at Song Quebec. The palm wind was like thunder, instantly sending Song Ke flying into the underground river. She had already lost close to 300 years of her lifespan. Although she did not show any signs of dying in a sitting posture, there was no guarantee that she would be in danger at any time. Only by entering the Sage Realm could she be completely safe. At this moment, Song Ke had spoiled the situation. She wished she could kill him with a palm strike. Song Ke, who only had one arm left, thrashed about in the water with all his might. The poor martial king's essence was messed up by this palm strike. He had to drink a few mouthfuls of water before he crawled to the shore. Mu Xinya suddenly opened her eyes and a bright light shot out from them. She looked at the crowd and said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion, you had best not touch my sage ancestor's body. I will be back." After she spoke, she threw out a jade strip. The jade strip turned into a ball of flame and flew to Mu Xinya's feet. Her body slowly turned into a strand of flame and disappeared into the underground cave. Divine Flame Talisman. There is actually such a thing. When a Supreme Elder saw Mu Xinya throw out the jade strip, his face was filled with despair. The Divine Flame Talisman was a teleportation secret treasure. After it was burned, it could bring its owner thousands of kilometers underground, vanishing into nothingness. It was said that the refinement method of this talisman had been preserved in the Great Jin Empire. However, it was extremely expensive. Each talisman required 2,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Furthermore, it could only be used once. Using it once was equivalent to expending 2,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Although this price was expensive, it was not worth mentioning when compared to one's life. Originally, there were people who were planning to lock Mu Xinya up after she completely absorbed the energy of the Heavenly Wolf King's inheritance. Then, they would extract her energy after she refined a sage core. Although it would take a long time, it was not impossible. Now that Mu Xinya used the Divine Flame Talisman, all these thoughts were gone. A Supreme Elder sighed, 100 years of effort. In the end, it was all for naught. Although the old Fiend King is dead, a new Fiend King has appeared. I wonder if the Heavenly Saber Pavilion can withstand another attack from a Fiend King. There were many tributaries in the underground river. The undercurrent was very turbulent. After Xiao Chen fell into the river, he was unconscious. When he sank to the bottom, he did not know where he was washed to. The blue dragon came from the water. Xiao Chen, who possessed the blue dragon martial spirit, could hold his breath underwater for a long time. He did not need to breathe. However, now that Xiao Chen's martial spirit was destroyed, he was like an ordinary person. He did not have any special abilities. Logically speaking, after Xiao Chen sank to the bottom of the river, he should have drowned after 2 hours. His abdomen would have swelled up. After 10 hours, he would have floated up again and turned into a corpse. However, Xiao Chen's current situation was very strange. His blue dragon martial spirit had already dissipated and he was completely crippled. However, he could still breathe underwater. As the undercurrent rose and fell, he did not know where it was going. Occasionally, there would be all sorts of water plants and duckweed entangling him, and fish and prawns would rise and fall. 2 days later, Xiao Chen woke up from his unconscious state. He felt a splitting headache and he felt very weak. His body swam in the water. Under the impact of the ferocious undercurrent, it was difficult for him to even turn around. When Xiao Chen felt the condition of his body, he felt it was strange. He did not understand why he could still breathe underwater after his blue dragon martial spirit had been destroyed. Calm down, Xiao Chen kept repeating to himself as he swam in the river. Although he could breathe underwater, the situation was still very dangerous. Song Kei's peak martial king attack had not only destroyed his martial spirit, but the internal energy that had spread out had also caused great internal injuries to his body. His internal organs were all damaged to varying degrees. If it were not for the fact that Xiao Chen's physique was extraordinary and that he had been tempered by the 7-leaf flower 7 times, his heart and lungs would have been shattered and he would have died. After drifting underwater for 2 days, the injuries in his body had not been treated. Furthermore, he had not eaten anything. Xiao Chen's physical strength could be said to be extremely weak. If he did not think of a way to get to the surface in the turbulent river, the problem of his physical strength would only worsen. In the end, he would die. While he was thinking, Xiao Chen had already been pushed a few hundred meters away by the undercurrent. Xiao Chen could not help but fear the ferocious undercurrent in his heart. Xiao Chen faced the undercurrent and did his best to control his body to turn around. A surging undercurrent suddenly attacked him, causing Xiao Chen's body to flip over. Guru! Guru! This sudden situation caused Xiao Chen to swallow a few mouthfuls of water. In the midst of the chaos, Xiao Chen grabbed a large amount of seaweed in the water and did his best to stabilize his body. This seaweed was rather sturdy. When Xiao Chen wrapped it in his hand, although the undercurrent was still ferocious, it could no longer carry it away. The seaweed, which was as thick as an arm, stabilized Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen finally caught his breath and looked up. Although the river was somewhat turbid and he could not see the surface clearly, the light was not dim. This meant that the river was not too deep. Since that was the case, Xiao Chun had to think of a way to get to the surface. The main thing preventing him from getting to the surface was the undercurrent at the bottom of the river. If he let go of the seaweed in his hand, the undercurrent would immediately wash him down. This undercurrent was only about 5 meters thick. It was at the deepest part of the river. As long as he crossed this 5 meters, there would be no undercurrent. At that time, he would be able to get to the surface naturally. If Xiao Chun still had his essence in the past, he could easily leap out of this underground river with one breath. When he landed, even the water on his body would quickly evaporate. However, not only was he severely injured, his martial spirit was also destroyed. He could not raise his essence and had not eaten for 2 days. As long as he let go of the seaweed in his hand, the surging undercurrent would immediately wash him down. After resting for more than half an hour, Xiao Chun carefully observed his surroundings. He slowly touched the 2 sides of the riverbed and discovered that the slope was filled with silt. When he stepped on it, he immediately sank half a meter deep. Xiao Chun was delighted. He thought of a way to get to the shore. As long as he followed the slope and stuck his arm into the silt, he would be able to slowly climb up. Chapter 198. To be safe, Xiao Chun first found a 10-meter-long strand of seaweed and wrapped it around his waist. Then, he carried out his plan. In the turbulent undercurrent, every step was incomparably difficult. When Xiao Chun reached the top of the slope, he did not dare to be careless. He climbed up step by step. The undercurrent attacked his body continuously, nearly washing him away a few times. Xiao Chun dug his palms deep into the silt and poured all the black silt into his fingernails. He barely managed to avoid the undercurrent. After dodging the undercurrent with much difficulty, Xiao Chun loosened his body and removed the seaweed around his waist. After a while, he emerged from the water and took a deep breath. Then, he quickly rowed towards the shore. After reaching the shore, Xiao Chun was extremely tired. The dizziness intensified. He did his best to stay alert and control his desire to lie down. Then, he removed all his wet clothes. Xiao Chun took out some dry clothes from the universe ring and put them on. Then, he swallowed a blood-replenishing pill. After doing all this, he dragged his body to a cliff by the shore. Then, he leaned against it and closed his eyes to rest. Unknowingly, Xiao Chun fell asleep. He was simply too tired. When he woke up again, Xiao Chun's spirit had recovered. With the help of the blood-replenishing pill, his injuries had also healed. Xiao Chun took out some dry rations and water from the universe ring. After he ate them, his strength slowly recovered. He wolfed down the dry rations and gulped down a large mouthful of water. Only then did Xiao Chun get up and look around him. He was in a rather dark cave. Xiao Chun wanted to release his spiritual sense instinctively. In the end, he discovered that there was no reaction. The spiritual sense that he had been using in the past did not appear. Xiao Chun could not help but smile bitterly. It looked like he had really become a cripple. He slowly walked to the riverside. The calm river water reflected Xiao Chun's pale face. Due to soaking in the river for too long, Xiao Chun's skin had turned frighteningly pale. Some parts of his skin had even peeled off. The appearance that Xiao Chun had changed using the shape-shifting spell had already returned to its original state. However, he could not be bothered with this now. After he cleaned off the mud from his fingernails, he turned around and looked at Xiao Chun. After he cleaned off the mud from his fingernails, he walked in the direction of the river. No matter what, he had to find an exit first. Dee-da, dee-da. Occasionally, water droplets would fall from above. The instant the water droplets landed, Xiao Chun's body instinctively moved backward. The water droplets brushed past Xiao Chun's nose and quickly fell to the ground. Looks like I still have the strength of my body. My combat instincts have not disappeared. Even without essence, I can still sense the direction of the water droplet. Xiao Chun clenched his fist and revealed a joyful expression. Due to gravity, the speed at which the water droplets fell was very fast. Xiao Chen could only rely on his body's instincts to sense the direction in which the water droplets would fall. Then, he could easily dodge them. Even without a martial spirit, I can rely on my physical body to become a martial sage. What the predecessors could do, I can do as well. A determined look appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. After walking for a long time, the light in front of him slowly brightened. Xiao Chen could not help but increase his pace. After a while, the scene before him opened up. Even without a martial spirit, I can rely on my physical body to become a martial sage. What the predecessors could do, I can do as well. A determined look appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. A vast underground world appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. It was a few hundred meters tall, and had an unknown length and width. There were trees, plants, flowers, and rivers. It was unknown where the light came from. It was very strange. Xiao Chen hesitated for a while before he stepped in. It was as though he had passed through a barrier. Time stopped for a short moment. It was almost negligible. Afraid that something was wrong, Xiao Chen paced back and forth a few times. When he discovered that he could safely return, he did not pay much attention to it. Crunch! Crunch! A few birds suddenly flew past the forest in front. Xiao Chen was slightly startled. There were actually living creatures here. He had to be careful. If there were any ferocious beasts, it would be troublesome. Bang! Bang! Just as Xiao Chen was thinking this, a huge spirit beast dashed out of the forest. This was a scarlet flame bear. When it stood up, it was as tall as two grown men. Its red eyes were filled with a baleful aura as it looked at Xiao Chen. The scarlet flame bear was a rank 2 spirit beast. It was equivalent to a martial master. Xiao Chen had seen it before in the periphery of Seven Horn Mountain. It looked very ferocious, but there was nothing special about it. However, it would be difficult for the current Xiao Chen to deal with it. Pooh! Pooh! Just as Xiao Chen was thinking, the scarlet flame bear ran over on all fours. Soon, it arrived in front of Xiao Chen. It sent out a palm strike with a force of several hundred kilograms. Xiao Chen did not panic. Before the front paw of the scarlet flame bear could reach him, he sensed the direction of the wind. He calmly took a step to the left and dodged the attack. Xiao Chen shouted and poured all his strength into his right fist. All the muscles in his right arm bulged up. It was like Xiao Chen felt a boundless power. He punched at the chest of the scarlet flame bear at lightning speed. In the next moment, the scarlet flame bear's sturdy body was sent flying with a bang. The sound of its internal organs shattering came from its body. After it fell to the ground, it could not get up again. Xiao Chen looked at all this in astonishment. After a while, when he saw that the scarlet flame bear was really dead, he muttered, "How is this possible? Even at its peak, the strength of my punch was only 1,500 kilograms. Now that my martial spirit is shattered and my injuries have not healed completely, it is already an extraordinary performance to be able to display even half of my strength." The scarlet flame bear's weight had already reached 500 kilograms. If Xiao Chen wanted to send it flying with a punch and shatter its internal organs, he would need at least 4,000 kilograms of strength. Xiao Chen looked suspiciously at his own fist. He did not dare believe it. "I feel like I did not use all my strength in that punch earlier. Why is my strength even stronger than before?" Xiao Chen could not figure it out no matter how he thought about it. He walked into the forest and found a scarlet flame bear at the periphery. When it was about to approach him, he punched it again. Just like before, this scarlet flame bear that weighed 500 kilograms was sent flying. Its internal organs were shattered and it died. Only now did Xiao Chen believe that everything was real. His strength was even stronger than before. Could it be that my cultivation realm did not disappear? The strength of my punch should be around 3,500 kilograms of force, close to 4,000 kilograms. Otherwise, it would be impossible for me to kill the scarlet flame bear in one punch, Xiao Chen said with certainty. What exactly is going on? Why did my physical strength increase? Xiao Chen thought hard for a long time, but he still could not figure it out. After a while, Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Never mind, an increase in strength is a good thing. Since I cannot figure it out, I should not think too much about it for now. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen left the forest. The depths of the forest gave him a dangerous aura. There should be other stronger spirit beasts. Xiao Chen spent the remaining time exploring this unknown underground world. In the southeast direction, Xiao Chen unexpectedly discovered a natural herb field. It was lush and verdant, filled with all sorts of spirit herbs. Many of the spirit herbs were over 100 years old. However, before Xiao Chen got close to the herb field, he could already feel a few strong auras. Occasionally, he could hear the terrifying roars of beasts. These were all strong spirit beasts. With Xiao Chen's current state, he could only watch from afar and shrink back. Seeing a mountain of treasure but not being able to get it was quite depressing. Xiao Chen avoided this area and continued moving forward. Although his martial spirit was destroyed, his physical strength was still there. His speed was not slow either. In one day, Xiao Chen had explored a radius of 1,000 meters. He discovered that he had completely underestimated the size of this underground world. After walking for one day, he had not even covered half the distance. For some unknown reason, the underground world also had day and night. As time passed, the light slowly turned dim. In the night, there were always some unknown dangers. Xiao Chen did not dare to stay here. He retreated all the way to the edge of the underground world before slowly stopping. Sitting down cross-legged, Xiao Chen decided to cultivate once more. Even though his martial spirit was destroyed, he had not completely given up. The blue dragon martial spirit was an ancient holy beast. It definitely had something extraordinary about it. Right now, there was no trace of spiritual energy in Xiao Chen's body. He was now truly an ordinary person. He was much weaker than when he first came to this world. At the very least, he still had the spiritual energy that he had cultivated for more than 10 years. Although he could not convert it into essence, it was more than enough to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. Now that there was no trace of spiritual energy in his body, he might have to wait another 16 years before he could reach his previous cultivation realm. If that was the case, no matter how strong Xiao Chen's willpower was, he would have to give up. Xiao Chen felt the surrounding spiritual energy and guarded his dantian. He breathed in and exhaled. His spirit pedestal was calm as he repeated these two actions continuously. This was the most basic breathing technique in the Tianwu continent. Aside from those with innate martial spirits, most people did not have any spiritual energy when they were born. Without spiritual energy, there was no way to circulate any cultivation technique. At this moment, one had to practice the breathing technique, absorbing some spiritual energy into one's body. When the amount of spiritual energy in one's body reached a certain level, one could officially start cultivating. The breathing technique did not have any grades. It was common throughout the continent. Slowly, the qi that Xiao Chen breathed out became more solid. From a distance, it looked like a mist-like sword, lingering for a long time. Who? In the next moment, when Xiao Chen breathed in, the spiritual energy turned into a faint mist. It flowed through Xiao Chen's mouth and slowly flowed out of his meridians. The spiritual energy circulated around his body before settling in his dantian. It was about the size of a pinky finger. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. He did not expect the first strand of spiritual energy he absorbed to be so big. Soon, he would be able to gather enough spiritual energy to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. His earlier worries about needing another 16 years were groundless. He had already experienced this process once. It made sense that the second time he gathered spiritual energy would be much smoother. After 4 hours, The spiritual energy that had settled in his dantian was sufficient to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. Xiao Chun stopped breathing and prepared to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. Hua! The purple thunder divine incantation successfully circulated without any obstruction. The surrounding spiritual energy immediately poured into Xiao Chen's body in a frenzy. It was endless, completely exceeding Xiao Chen's expectations. Chapter 199. Why is it like this? Xiao Chen was startled. Suddenly, he remembered what Yi Wen had told him before. If he forcefully cultivated in this underground, there was a risk of his body exploding. Xiao Chen's expression could not help but change greatly. He wanted to stop, but he was not resigned to it. Back when he was cultivating the purple thunder divine incantation on Seven Horn Mountain, he had encountered such a situation and successfully condensed his martial spirit. If he gave up now, it would be too much of a pity. If he missed this opportunity, he might not have any hope of condensing his martial spirit again in the future. I'll just go crazy for once. The path of cultivation is filled with thorns. I have to fight with the heavens, fight with others, fight with myself. I have to be ruthless to everyone. If I can't even get past this hurdle, how can I fight with others in the future? Not to mention fighting with the heavens. After making up his mind, Xiao Chun steeled his heart. Not only did he not stop, he even sped up the circulation of the purple thunder divine incantation. Thunder roared in the sky. A whirlpool appeared above his head, spinning continuously. It quickly sucked in the surrounding spiritual energy before sending it into Xiao Chen's body. Bolts of lightning flashed in the air. Wind and thunder roared, and mysterious phenomena appeared. Xiao Chen's body was not calm either. Spiritual energy filled his entire meridians. Now, Xiao Chen's meridians were much wider and more resilient than before. The amount of spiritual energy they could contain was also several times more than before. If Xiao Chen's meridians were not stable, he would explode until not even his bones remained. Boom! Just as Xiao Chen felt like he could not hold on any longer, all 361 acupoints in his body opened with a boom. There was actually a tiny azure dragon in every acupoint. The 361 blue dragons opened their mouths and sucked, instantly sucking in all the spiritual energy in Xiao Chen's body, saving Xiao Chen's life. The whirlpool above his head did not stop. Immediately, new spiritual energy poured in. Just as Xiao Chen was about to collapse, the 361 azure dragons in his acupoints opened their mouths and sucked in again. The spiritual energy in his body was sucked dry once more. From afar, Xiao Chen's 361 acupoints were emitting a blue glow. His entire body was like a blue dragon, forming a huge blue dragon. Swallowing clouds and spitting out mist, he roared furiously as he controlled the various phenomena in the world and accepted the baptism of lightning. It turns out that my martial spirit did not disappear. It was just divided into 361 small blue dragons and stayed in the acupoints of my body. Xiao Chen thought in pleasant surprise. Every time the blue dragon in his acupoints breathed in and out, Xiao Chen felt as if his entire body was cleansed by spiritual energy. It was extremely comfortable. After repeating this a total of 361 times, the mysterious phenomenon in the sky disappeared. The whirlpool above Xiao Chen's head entered his body with a so sound. The spiritual energy in the world finally stopped pouring in. The whirlpool formed a miniature qi whirlpool in Xiao Chen's dantian. As it spun slowly, drops of liquefied qi dripped down slowly. At the start, the speed at which the qi whirlpool dripped was very fast. Every time it spun one round, a drop would fall. In the end, it became slower and slower. Even after it spun more than 10 times, not a single drop fell. When Xiao Chen counted carefully, he did not know if it was a coincidence or not, but there were exactly 361 drops of mysterious liquid. Xiao Chen's mind moved. When he looked carefully, he discovered that this liquid was actually extremely pure essence. I clearly did not condense a martial spirit. It is just a chi whirlpool, yet it can actually turn spiritual energy into essence. This is really strange, Xiao Chen said doubtfully. Looks like my martial spirit really did not scatter. It is just a different form of existence. This is good as well. Condensing essence from the chi whirlpool is much faster than before. Xiao Chen controlled the essence in his body and slowly circulated it. He discovered that his cultivation realm did not fall. In terms of purity and quantity of essence, he had broken through to medial grade martial Grand Master. After circulating his essence for a great cycle, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. A purple light pierced through the dark night sky before turning into two spots of purple light and disappearing from his eyes. Xiao Chen got up and looked into the distance. He clenched his right hand into a fist and energy filled his entire body. This feeling of regaining control over his strength made Xiao Chen feel very carefree. He could not help but let out a long roar. It was like the roar of a dragon. It was long and continuous, reverberating in the surroundings. Ha! Xiao Chen punched through the air and punched a huge rock 50 meters in front of him. The Fengyan acupoint on his palm suddenly opened and the blue dragon in it disappeared. It turned into strands of azure light and spread to his arm. In an instant, his entire right hand was filled with a huge energy. The powerful force followed the direction of the punch and hit the 2-meter-tall boulder with a loud bang. The boulder immediately shattered into pieces and scattered in all directions. The blue dragon in the acupoint could actually turn into an azure light and attack along with the fist wind. This was a pleasant surprise. Furthermore, it was very strong. This is just the blue dragon in one acupoint, and it already has such a strong might. If I were to open all 361 acupoints in the future, how strong would its might be? Xiao Chen thought in anticipation. He tried punching a few more times. In the end, he discovered that the acupoint on his palm was already completely closed. No matter how hard he tried, he could not open it. It should be that he had used up all his energy and was temporarily unable to use it. Xiao Chen was not worried. There was still time in the future. There was no need to rush. In the following period of time, Xiao Chen took out the lunar shadow saber from the universe ring and executed all the martial techniques he knew. He could execute all the martial techniques without any obstructions. Furthermore, they were even more refined. Their might was much stronger than before. Only then did Xiao Chen relax. It seemed like he had completely recovered his strength. Not only did the peak martial King Song Kei's punch not shatter his martial spirit, it even allowed his strength to improve. Perhaps this was the true face of the blue dragon martial spirit. Breaking down and rebuilding, establishing a brand new system. This completely stimulated the blue dragon martial spirit that he did not know how to use in the past. A silver warship flew quickly a few hundred meters in the sky. Xiao Chen stood at the bow as the wind whistled past his ears. He extended his spiritual sense into the surroundings, carefully checking his surroundings. After his essence recovered, he could use his spiritual sense and secret treasures. When the sky brightened, Xiao Chen piloted the silver warship and flew towards the natural herb field. There is a rank 5 spirit beast lightning ox in the northeast direction. It is guarding a rank 6 herb, phoenix bloodvine. The phoenix bloodvine is a natural herb. It can be used directly to strengthen a cultivator's chi and blood. There is an unknown python in the northwest direction. It should be a peak rank 5 spirit beast. It is guarding a golden lotus. According to the Compendium of Cultivation, the golden lotus is the main ingredient in refining the profound returning pill. It is worth 100 inferior grade spirit stones. There is a one-eyed wolf in the south. It is a peak rank 5 spirit beast. It is guarding a rank 6 herb, needle leaf grass. It is worth 50 inferior grade spirit stones. Now that Xiao Chen possessed his spiritual sense, he quickly scanned the situation in the herb field from high up in the sky. This underground space was filled with spiritual energy. There were also all sorts of natural treasures. With such a good place to cultivate, Xiao Chen did not intend to leave for now. He was prepared to cultivate here. He urgently needed some herbs to strengthen his physical body. Who? Xiao Chen recalled the silver warship into his right eye and slowly landed in the northeast direction of the herb field. There was a scarlet phoenix bloodvine there. It could be used directly to strengthen a cultivator's qi and blood, directly raising the strength of the physical body. Although it could not compare to the seven-leaf flower, which had a rebirth effect, to Xiao Chen, it was still a rare item. After consuming it, it should be able to increase his strength by 250 kilograms. Xiao Chen landed firmly on the ground and walked towards the lightning ox. The lightning ox had purple fur all over its body. It was at least twice the size of the water buffaloes on Earth. There was a silver horn on its head. It could instantly release horrifying lightning, numbing the body of a cultivator. A weaker cultivator would be electrocuted into charcoal. Roar! Seeing Xiao Chen getting closer, the lightning ox roared angrily at Xiao Chen. A rank 5 spirit beast already had a certain level of intelligence. It could tell how dangerous Xiao Chen was, so it warned him not to get any closer. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and ignored it. He pushed off the ground with his feet and the muscles in his body swelled up. He was filled with explosive power. He relied on the strength of his physical body and leaped towards the lightning ox. The lightning ox's reaction was very fast. The instant Xiao Chen leaped up, it stomped on the ground with its hooves, kicking up a cloud of dust. It charged towards Xiao Chen, who was flying through the air. When the lightning ox collided with its body, which weighed 1,000 kilograms, it had a force of 2,500 kilograms. Its aura was very ferocious. It could easily crush a small hill. Xiao Chen did not dodge. He clenched his fist tightly, giving off a crackling sound. He gathered all his strength into his right fist and punched the lightning ox's head. Bang! One man and one beast collided. A force of close to 5,000 kilograms collided, giving off a loud sound. Ripples spread out in all directions in the air. The taller plants in the herb field were all crushed into powder by the ripples, leaving only the lonely rhizomes. The huge force caused Xiao Chen's arm to go numb. His body flew back 5 meters. After he landed, he slid back another 2 meters before he came to a stop. The lightning ox was not in a good state either. It was sent tumbling by the punch. Its huge body rolled a few times on the ground before it slowly came to a stop. The lightning ox immediately stood up. Its eyes revealed a furious expression as it gathered a purple electric light on its white horns. The surrounding lightning attributed energy frantically poured into the ox's horns. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a surging light. Pu-ci! Pu-ci! A purple bolt of lightning tore through the air, flying quickly at Xiao Chen. Everywhere the lightning passed, the dust in the air turned into purple ashes. When one looked at it, the lightning looked even more mighty. With one look, one could tell that the might of the purple lightning was not to be underestimated. Xiao Chen did not dare to clash head-on. He circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art and turned into a flood dragon. He moved about in the air, continuously changing his figure. Bolts of lightning chased after Xiao Chen, not letting up. After a while, the space around Xiao Chen was filled with densely packed lightning, like a cage. Chapter 200. Under the electric light, Xiao Chen's hair all stood on end. Although he was not struck by the lightning, the air seemed to be filled with electricity. His skin already had a significant static reaction. Not good. Xiao Chen thought to himself, the lightning ox's intelligence is actually so high. The lightning that seemed to be randomly fired out was actually following a certain pattern, gradually gathering together. Shwa! In the sky, 9 bolts of lightning as thick as an arm quickly gathered together. They were like 5 pillars supporting the heavens as they headed for Xiao Chen. Heavenly lightning shield. The speed of the lightning was too fast. Furthermore, it was gathering from all directions. Even if Xiao Chen's movement technique was exquisite, he would not be able to pass through it. Xiao Chen could only defend. Chi 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 chi. When the 9 huge lightning pillars collided with the heavenly lightning shield, they gave off a zzz sound. The heavenly lightning shield had the ability to absorb lightning. However, the strength of this lightning was too strong. It did not last for long before it shattered with a pa sound. The remaining lightning struck Xiao Chen's body. There was a pili-pa-pa sound on Xiao Chen's body. The clothes on the surface of Xiao Chen's body were all torn apart. Xiao Chen's body was revealed to be filled with explosive muscles. The electricity continued to jump around on his skin. Fortunately, the heavenly lightning shield absorbed most of the electricity. The remaining might was still somewhat weakened. Xiao Chen did not receive any fatal injuries. Xiao Chen endured the pain in his body and leaped into the air. He arrived beside the lightning ox. At this moment, the lightning ox had used its trump card. It was at its weakest. After it recovered, it would take a lot more time to deal with it. Flight on wings, disordered dance of 1,000 years. Xiao Chen's hands moved, changing the original sword move into a fist move. His figure flickered and the wind from his fist howled. In the blink of an eye, he had sent out more than 1,000 punches around the lightning ox. Bang! 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 Every punch contained more than 2,000 kilograms of force. When they landed on the purple body of the lightning ox, it cried out in pain. However, it could not do anything to Xiao Chen, who was moving around at high speed. Die! When the disordered dance of 1,000 years was completed, Xiao Chen landed beside the lightning bull. The Fengyan acupoint on his right palm opened, and the blue dragon inside transformed into a ball of cyan light, wrapping around Xiao Chen's entire right arm. In an instant, Xiao Chen once again felt the feeling of his right hand being filled with power like yesterday. With a bang, a series of crisp sounds rang out from within the lightning ox's body. All of its internal organs had been shattered, and its huge body was sent flying back dozens of meters. Black blood flowed out of the corner of its mouth. This lightning ox was dead. Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and slowly expelled the electricity in his body. The qi whirlpool in his dantian spun rapidly. The surging essence instantly squeezed or swallowed the electricity in his meridians. After a while, Xiao Chen got up and changed his clothes. Then, he walked towards the rank 6 phoenix blood vine and carefully picked it. Then, he placed it in his universe ring. After taking a look at the corpse of the lightning ox, Xiao Chen slowly walked over. He took out a small knife and started to dissect it. The corpse of a rank 5 spirit beast was filled with treasures. Xiao Chen did not want to waste it. This was especially so for the silver horn of the lightning ox. It should be several decades old. It had been tempered by electricity for a long time. It could be used to forge a lightning-attributed bone weapon. Its value was not lower than the phoenix blood vine. Xiao Chen took out a jade bottle and collected the blood. Then, he took out the spirit core and cut off the most delicious parts of the lightning ox's body. Only then did he leave in satisfaction. Originally, he wanted to stay for a while longer and collect all the herbs in the surroundings. However, the earlier battle medicine had attracted the attention of the other spirit beasts. It was relatively easy to deal with one rank 5 spirit beast at a time. However, if there were many of them, it would be very dangerous. Furthermore, among the auras, Xiao Chen could feel the aura of a peak rank 6 spirit beast. That was a spirit beast guarding the center of the herb field. Earlier, Xiao Chen had checked the place with the densest spiritual energy in the entire herb field. There was a flowing light marigold growing there. The flowing light marigold was an extremely precious rank 7 herb. Just one flowing light leaf had the healing effects of a rank 6 medicinal pill. Furthermore, there were several rare medicinal pills in the compendium of cultivation that required this leaf as a medicinal catalyst. However, the most precious thing was the flowing light flower. The flowing light flower only bloomed once every 800 years. Just one petal was enough to increase a person's intelligence. This was what cultivators referred to as comprehension ability. After consuming it, it would increase a cultivator's comprehension ability greatly. They would be able to comprehend cultivation techniques or martial techniques much faster than ordinary people. It could allow a person with mediocre talent to immediately become talented. For example, Xiao Chun had yet to comprehend the highest realm of the clear wind chop. If he consumed this flowing light flower, he might be able to comprehend it immediately. Of course, all of this could only be wishful thinking. Beside the flowing light golden lamp, there was a peak rank 6 spirit beast guarding it all year round. In the surroundings, there were several 6th rank spiritual beasts eyeing him. With so many 6th rank spiritual beasts, before Xiao Chun could even get close to them, he would probably die. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chun steered the silver warship away before the spirit beasts arrived. He stopped in front of a towering tree not far from the herb field. The tree was several meters wide and towered into the clouds. Its branches were luxuriant, and Xiao Chun looked extremely small standing beneath it. There were many treasures in the herb field, and Xiao Chun did not plan on leaving. He intended to use this place as his base of operations. Every once in a while, he would go to the herb field and cultivate there. Taking out the phoenix bloodvine, Xiao Chun revealed a smile. This phoenix bloodvine should be at least 100 years old. If he brought it to the market in the heaven viewing platform, it would be worth at least 60 inferior grade spirit stones. Taking out a sharp knife from the universe ring, Xiao Chun peeled off the phoenix bloodvine. Then, he cut off a small piece and placed it in his mouth. After chewing it a few times, he swallowed it. The phoenix blood vine instantly turned into a warm current that flowed into his body. The qi and blood in his body surged. Xiao Chun felt like every cell in his body was burning, filled with energy. Directly chewing natural treasures was very dangerous. Previously, when he consumed the 7-leaf flower and 7-leaf fruit, the timing was rather special. It was when his body was in dire need of energy, so he was not afraid. However, this time was different. Xiao Chun's qi and blood were already flourishing. If he directly consumed the entire phoenix blood vine, his vigorous qi and blood would immediately burn up. His body might even spontaneously combust. Xiao Chun chewed the phoenix blood vine piece by piece. When he had consumed a third of the phoenix blood vine, he felt like his body was about to explode. So, he quickly stopped. Xiao Chun sat cross-legged and started to circulate his energy, completely refining this huge medicinal energy. His essence slowly flowed along the meridians in his body, catalyzing the medicinal energy of the phoenix blood vine. After half an hour, Xiao Chun finally finished refining this medicinal energy. He felt his blood boil like it was on fire, filled with energy. Xiao Chun looked around and found a huge rock about 1 meter tall that he could encircle with both hands. He walked in front of it and casually punched it. Chi! The hard rock was like mud. Xiao Chun directly punched through it before withdrawing his hand. Xiao Chun revealed a faint smile. Before I consumed the phoenix bloodvine, a casual punch would only have the strength of 1,500 kilograms. After I circulate my qi, it can reach 4,000 kilograms. A full-powered punch can reach 2,500 kilograms. Now I have only consumed a small portion of the phoenix bloodvine, and a casual punch can already reach 3,500 kilograms. If I were to consume the entire phoenix bloodvine, it would probably increase my previous strength by 500 kilograms. While he was thinking excitedly, Xiao Chun punched with all his might. A force of 2,500 kilograms struck the huge rock. The huge rock shattered into countless stone shards, flying in all directions. Xiao Chun was stimulated by the corpse monarch that day. The physique that he had always been proud of was not worth mentioning in front of the corpse monarch. To him, it was a form of humiliation. It made him have an intense and urgent desire for the strength of his physical body. Now that he had such a good opportunity, he had to treasure it properly and continue tempering his physical body. Most cultivators would not be like Xiao Chen, stubbornly cultivating their physical body. In their opinion, cultivation realm was the most important. When one's cultivation realm was higher, one's essence would naturally be stronger. If one's physical body could reach several thousand kilograms of force, one could do the same with strong essence. However, Xiao Chen did not think this way. He had a vague understanding that the cultivation of a cultivator was inseparable from the physical body. Only by cultivating the strength of the physical body to the peak would one be able to go further in the future. Perhaps these people, like Ji Changkong, Mu Qingxue, Chu Chaoyun, Hua Yunfei, and Duan Muqing, were geniuses with innate martial spirits and incomparable talent. Right now, their cultivation realm was rising very quickly. The highest was probably already a medial-grade martial saint. However, in the future, they would surpass martial king, then martial monarch, or the lucky ones would enter the sage realm. Without a strong body, they would not be able to reach Emperor Wu's realm. In the following 2 days, Xiao Chen practiced the clear wind chop during the day. He comprehended the 3rd stage of the clear wind chop, only seeing the cool wind and not the saber. After practicing unceasingly, Xiao Chen's comprehension of the final stage of the clear wind chop had already reached the threshold. As long as he had a period of time, he would definitely be able to enter the next stage and enter the great perfection stage. At night, Xiao Chen would continue to consume the phoenix blood vine. After refining it, he would strengthen his qi and blood and increase his vital qi. On this particular day, Xiao Chen placed the last piece of the phoenix blood vine into his mouth and chewed it gently. When he felt a warm flow, he immediately sat down cross-legged and started refining it. Xiao Chen slowly circulated his essence. When the last strand of medicinal energy from the phoenix blood vine was completely refined, the phoenix blood vine that had been fused with Xiao Chen's body for the past 3 days suddenly surged. The qi and blood in Xiao Chen's body surged continuously. Strands of white smoke came out from the top of Xiao Chen's head. Boom! After a while, Xiao Chen felt the qi and blood in his body explode. Pa, 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 pa. All the bones in Xiao Chen's body gave off crackling sounds. All 361 acupoints in his body opened up. Beams of azure light came from the acupoints. If there was an outsider looking at Xiao Chen from afar, they would discover the image of a blue dragon coiled around Xiao Chen's body, wrapping around him. This sudden situation did not surprise Xiao Chen. On the contrary, he felt it was somewhat familiar. It was as if he had experienced this scene 10,000 years ago. Chapter 201. With a thought, Xiao Chen muttered, "Open." The Laogong acupoint below the Fengyan acupoint on Xiao Chen's right hand released an intense azure light. The blue dragon in the acupoint turned into a clear shadow and covered his entire right arm. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and punched out. An azure light left his body, and a tree 100 meters in front of him was immediately chopped in half. The azure light did not slow down at all. Xiao Chen got up and said in pleasant surprise, "The second acupoint on my right hand is open as well. So this is the way to open it. When my qi and blood reach a certain level, I can choose to open an acupoint. Is this the secret of the blue dragon martial spirit?" Xiao Chen muttered to himself. It was like there was a voice in his mind telling him what to do earlier. It was like a dream. Actually, this was also the sorrow of the blue dragon martial spirit. The inheritance of the other 3 holy beasts was not broken. There was complete information to look at. If there was something that he did not understand, the elders of the clan would teach him. Only Xiao Chen did not understand anything. He had to figure everything out by himself. There were many simple principles that he could not understand even after thinking for a long time. As a result, Xiao Chen had not used the various mysteries of the blue dragon martial spirit since he started cultivating. It could be said that this was a great sorrow. He had a mountain of treasures, but he could not use them. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen looked at the herb field not far away. He said, "No matter what, it looks like cultivating the physical body is the right path. The power of the blue dragon martial spirit requires a strong physical body to be able to bring out its full power." Xiao Chen vaguely understood why this body was unable to condense a martial spirit after more than 10 years. It was not because he was not talented enough, but because his physical body was not strong enough at that time. It could not withstand the pressure of condensing the blue dragon martial spirit. Early the next morning, Xiao Chen steered the silver warship to the herb field and found another medicinal herb that could increase qi and blood. The guardian of this herb was also a 5th-rank spirit beast. Xiao Chen was very familiar with the process. After his strength increased by 500 jin, he was able to deal with the rank 5 spirit beast even more easily. Just like last time, he quickly dealt with the spirit beast's corpse, picked the medicinal herbs, and immediately left. 3 days later, Xiao Chen had successfully refined this 100-year-old herb that could increase qi and blood. Unfortunately, his strength had only increased by 250 kilograms. Furthermore, he had not opened another acupoint. On the 4th day, Xiao Chen used the same method to obtain a 100-year-old medicinal herb. This time, after refining it, the effects were even worse than before. It only increased his strength by 150 kilograms. As the number of times he used it increased, the effects of the 100-year-old herbs became worse and worse. In the end, there was almost no effect at all. It was just a simple replenishment of his physical strength. The time that Xiao Chen took to refine the herbs also became shorter and shorter. Now, he only needed half a day to safely refine a 100-year-old herb. After half a month, Xiao Chen finally managed to increase his strength by 500 kilograms with much difficulty. His full power strike now had the strength of 7,000 kilograms. Furthermore, the 3rd acupoint on his right arm, the Daling acupoint, was finally opened. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and opened the Fengyan acupoint, Laogong acupoint, and Daling acupoint on his right arm, one after the other. They gave off beams of azure light. When the 3 beams of azure light overlapped, his entire arm felt like it was about to explode. It was filled with boundless energy. "Kill!" Xiao Chen shouted and leaped into the air. He punched the ground in the distance. The azure light left his body, and the 3 beams of azure light merged together. The azure light formed a blue dragon in the air. The somewhat blurry blue dragon charged towards the ground ferociously. In the next moment, bang, 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 there were 3 consecutive explosions on the ground. A large pit with a diameter of 10 meters was blasted open. In an instant, dust flew everywhere, sand and stones flew everywhere. Xiao Chen withdrew his hand and revealed a faint smile. "I have only opened 3 acupoints, and I am already so strong. I wonder how strong I will be after I open all 18 acupoints on my right arm." With Xiao Chen's current cultivation, he had not reached the level where he could externalize his essence. That was a technique that only martial saints could grasp. However, Xiao Chen's azure dragon image was not essence. He did not know what it was. He could only interpret it as the dragon qi of the blue dragon sage spirit. Only dragon qi could be so strong. Unfortunately, the further one progressed, the more difficult it would be to open the acupoint. The 100-year-old herbs that could increase qi and blood were no longer of any use. Xiao Chen looked at the herb field and muttered, "Looks like I have to search for herbs older than 200 years. However, herbs older than 200 years have spirit beasts guarding them. They are all at least peak rank 5 spirit beasts. It will not be easy to pick them." A peak rank 5 spirit beast was equivalent to a human superior grade martial saint. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation as a medial grade martial grandmaster, it would be difficult for him to challenge it. Riches are found in danger. On the path of cultivation, one has to fight with the heavens, the earth, and people. If one does not even have the courage to fight, then how can one continue on the long path of cultivation? A resolute look appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He used his right hand to violently smack the huge tree beside him. Dong! Dong! Just as Xiao Chen was about to sit down and rest, he suddenly had a look of astonishment in his eyes. Something was wrong with this sound. Xiao Chen turned around and revealed a bewildered expression. He looked at the huge tree and sent his spiritual sense into it, trying to see through it. What? Just as Xiao Chen's spiritual sense touched the edge of the tree, he felt like his brain was pricked by a needle. The pain was boundless, and he quickly withdrew his spiritual sense. Dong! Dong! Xiao Chen knocked on the tree twice again. This time, when he listened carefully, the echo was even clearer. Xiao Chen said with certainty, "There is really something strange. Could it be that there is nothing inside?" Xiao Chen said suspiciously as he looked at the huge tree in front of him. It would require a few adults to encircle it. Xiao Chen took out the lunar shadow saber from the universe ring and grasped its hilt. Essence gathered on the saber, forming a blazing saber light as he swept it at the thick tree trunk. The 10-meter-long saber light swept across the huge tree. With a hua sound, the saber light was absorbed into the tree, vanishing without a trace. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and said, "Essence attacks are useless? In that case, let's use our fist." Bang! Xiao Chen used his full power and struck the tree trunk with 7,000 kilograms of force. However, the tree trunk did not budge at all. The force extended to the roots buried deep in the ground, causing the entire ground to tremble. It was still useless. Xiao Chen tried all sorts of methods. He wanted to break open the tree trunk and check it out. In the end, it was all to no avail. The more it was like this, the more interested Xiao Chen became. This meant that there was a whole new world inside this tree. Xiao Chen leaped up gently and flew to the top of a branch. He started to check it out carefully. Since he could not attack it forcefully, he could only find the entrance. The leaves of the lush tree fluttered in the wind. It was very troublesome for Xiao Chen to search. He looked up meter by meter. Time slowly passed. When Xiao Chen arrived at the top of the tree, he finally found a tree hole that he suspected to be the entrance. The tree hole was very well hidden. It was covered by a pile of dense leaves. If not for Xiao Chen's meticulousness, he would not have been able to find it. The dark tree hole happened to be the size of a washbasin. It could fit a person. Xiao Chen broke off a branch and tossed it in. After a long time, he heard a faint sound. As long as it is not a bottomless hole, it does not matter. Seeing that the branch had already reached the bottom, Xiao Chen did not hesitate and directly entered. After entering, it was much more spacious. Xiao Chen could turn around and stretch freely. His speed of descent was very fast. Not long after, Xiao Chen landed firmly on the ground. Xiao Chen took out a night illumination pearl, and the dark space was illuminated. The scene at the bottom immediately appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. This was a spacious wooden hut. It was 10 meters long and 10 meters wide. There were simple decorations in the room. They were all very ordinary things. A long painting hung on the wall in front of the hut. There was an imposing man in the painting. He had long hair and was dressed in black. His eyes were like deep water, and his face was like a knife. He stood with his hands behind his back, and there was a saber stabbed into the ground in front of him. The corner of the black-clothed man's mouth curled up, revealing a cold smile. The painter's skills were very high. The expression of this person was very lifelike. Xiao Chen felt that this person looked familiar. When he shone the night illumination pearl on him, it was like the man was right in front of him. Under the illumination of the light, Xiao Chen could clearly see the appearance of this person. After a while, Xiao Chen said excitedly, "This is the Saber Emperor, the founder of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He is also the only martial emperor of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion." There was a statue of the Saber Emperor on the heaven viewing platform. Xiao Chen had seen it before. However, he had only taken a quick glance and did not have a deep impression of it. Now that he looked at it carefully, he recalled. There was no consensus on who was the strongest in the history of the great Qin nation. However, the Saber Emperor, the Sword Emperor, the First Qin Emperor, the Dark Knight Emperor, the Thunder King, and the other martial emperors in the history of the great Qin nation were all recognized as the strongest. It was a pity that these great emperors were not born in the same era. They had never competed with each other before, so no one knew who was the strongest. Some people said it was the Saber Emperor because he could split a 5,000-kilometer-long river with one saber strike. Some people said it was the Misty Sword Sect's Sword Emperor because he once went to the great Jin nation to challenge the Jin king. Everyone had their own opinions. However, it was undeniable that these people were experts who once stood at the peak of the great Qin nation. Even after 10,000 years, their deeds could not be forgotten. Among them, the Saber Emperor was the oldest martial emperor. Before the Tianwu dynasty was destroyed, he had already established the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Furthermore, he was one of the most influential people in the Tianwu continent at that time. However, this was definitely not the former residence of the Saber Emperor. This was because it was clear that this portrait was made by a later generation. It was not a portrait of the Saber Emperor. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and looked around the room to see if there were any clues. He wanted to find out whose residence this was. There was a prayer mat in the middle of the room that attracted Xiao Chen's attention. Prayer mats were very common. They were the prayer mats that regular cultivators used to meditate. Of course, there were some prayer mats that were not ordinary. They were woven from cattails that possessed spirituality. There were even some small spirit-gathering formations carved on them. Cultivating on them could increase the rate at which one could absorb spiritual energy. Xiao Chen had never used a prayer mat before, so he did not know much about it. The thing that attracted his attention was the pile of black ashes on the prayer mat. Chapter 202. Looking at the pile of ashes, Xiao Chen had a guess in his heart. However, he was not sure. He stretched out his index finger and gently dipped it into the prayer mat. After he sniffed it, Xiao Chen was finally sure of his earlier guess. This pile of ashes was caused by a cultivator entering a state of berserking qi deviation. He had spontaneously combusted and burned himself to death. This kind of thing was very common for cultivators of high cultivation. The higher one's cultivation, the higher the chance of entering a state of berserking qi deviation. The consequences would also be more severe. Although everyone knew of the danger involved, they could not stop. The further they went, the more insignificant they felt, the more they did not want to give up. Who? Xiao Chen casually sent out a palm wind and swept away the ashes. A ring flickering with spiritual light appeared on the prayer mat. The words, Hentian, were written on the inside of the ring. Hentian, Qi Hentian. So, it is him. The doubts in Xiao Chen's heart cleared up. Qi Hentian was a pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He had outstanding talent. At a young age, he had already become a martial monarch. In terms of talent, he was one of the best in the entire history of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Rumor had it that after he passed down the position of pavilion master, he lived in seclusion. No one knew where he went. At that time, his cultivation had already reached the peak of martial sage. So, he came here to cultivate, Xiao Chen muttered to himself. No wonder no one could find him. This place was very well hidden. He hung the portrait of the Saber Emperor on the wall. He probably wanted to use the Saber Emperor to motivate himself, hoping to reach the level of Emperor Wu. However, this had nothing to do with Xiao Chen. What he was more concerned about was the spatial ring of a martial sage. There should be a lot of treasures in it. When Xiao Chen sent his spiritual sense into the universe ring, he discovered 3 secret manuals and a spirit weapon. It was an inferior-grade heaven-ranked saber. There was also a large pile of spirit stones behind it. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, he discovered they were all medial-grade spirit stones. Even though Xiao Chen had seen a large pile of spirit stones at the headquarters of the Mines of Heaven, it was still somewhat dazzling. Most of the spirit stones in the headquarters of the mines were inferior grade spirit stones. Furthermore, they could only satisfy one's eyes. However, this ring was filled with medial grade spirit stones. Most importantly, these were all ownerless items. They were now Xiao Chen's personal wealth. Suppressing his joy, Xiao Chen took out the 3 secret manuals and the long saber. He put the long saber aside, and took out the first secret manual to read. Dragon and Tiger Body Sculpting Art. Xiao Chen slowly recited it. This was an earth-ranked mid-grade body strengthening technique. It was specially used to temper the body, refine the bones, strengthen the body, and strengthen one's qi, blood, and strength. Medial-grade earth-ranked martial techniques were already extremely rare. Even in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, it would be difficult to find a few. Under the situation where this heaven-ranked cultivation technique did not appear, it would be difficult to find a few. An earth-ranked cultivation technique was already the strongest. Furthermore, cultivation techniques were even rarer than martial technique. After all, the continent did not lack martial technique. No matter how one looked at it, this dragon and tiger body sculpting art was a treasure-grade secret manual. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art was split into 7 layers. The first layer strengthened the body, greatly increasing the qi and blood. The second layer, divine power, splitting mountains and rocks. The third layer, tiger roars deep in the forest, 100 beasts greet. The fourth layer, dragon roars throughout the world, piercing the heavens. The fifth layer, dragon tendon tiger bone, pulling mountains and rivers. When Xiao Chen saw the introduction, he rejoiced in his heart. He smiled and said, "This is great. This dragon and tiger body sculpting art is simply tailor-made for me. Furthermore, it came from a martial sage. This means that the direction I am taking in cultivating the physical body is not wrong." Although Xiao Chen's physical body was strong, he had not been able to make good use of it. He could only use brute force to attack in battle. He would not be able to gain an advantage against enemies who used essence. If one could use brute force to shatter mountains and rocks, others could do the same with essence. There was not much of a difference. However, with this dragon and tiger body sculpting art, the situation was different. His brute force would undergo a qualitative change. He would be able to use the advantages of his physical body more skillfully. In battle, he would be able to achieve an unexpected result, giving his opponent a lightning-quick strike. The most important thing was that Xiao Chen had obtained this dragon and tiger body sculpting art from a peak martial sage. Furthermore, it was one of the 3 secret manuals that he had brought with him when he was cultivating. This showed that this senior had comprehended the importance of the physical body in the final moments of his life. If he wanted to break through to martial emperor, he had to raise both the quality of his physical body and his cultivation. This proved that Xiao Chen's idea of cultivating the physical body was correct. The physical body and cultivation were both indispensable. Otherwise, he would only be able to advance to martial sage. Xiao Chen put away the dragon and tiger body sculpting art and took out the second secret manual to read. This was a fist technique called the Great Dragon Tiger Fist. Based on the name, it should be a set with the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. There was a total of 4 moves. First move, Fierce Tiger Leaving the Mountains. Second move, Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon. Third move, Hissing Dragon Tiger Roar. Fourth move, Leaping Tiger Soaring Tiger. Note: this fist technique can only be practiced after the dragon and tiger body sculpting art is cultivated to the 3rd layer. Indeed, this was a set of martial techniques for the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Xiao Chen smiled and closed his hands. Then, he flipped open the 3rd secret manual. The 3rd secret manual was rather strange. It was a sword technique called the Heart-Nourishing Universe Sword. It was also an Earth-ranked martial technique. Xiao Chen only took a quick glance at the sword technique and ignored it. He had not thought of cultivating a sword technique yet. After looking at the 3 secret manuals, Shao Chun said suspiciously, "Strange, as the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's pavilion master, why are the last 3 martial techniques he left behind not related to saber techniques?" Furthermore, the strangest thing was that Qi Hentian had started to cultivate his sword techniques. After thinking about it, Shao Chun felt that there was only one possibility. Qi Hentian was a genius in saber technique. He had spent his entire life researching saber technique. His research on saber techniques had already reached the peak. However, he was still unable to break through to martial sage. Perhaps, in the end, he felt that although he was talented, his comprehension of saber techniques could not improve further. He could only rely on other methods to make a breakthrough. Cultivating a sword technique was one of his attempts. When Shao Chun thought about it, he felt it was funny. Everyone in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion scoffed at sword technique. If a person with a sword wanted to enter the Heavenly Saber Pavilion with a weaker cultivation, they would be killed before they could even enter Saber City. Since ancient times, the sword and the saber could not coexist. If they knew that there was once a genius pavilion master who focused on researching sword techniques, what expression would they have? Shao Chun suddenly thought, since he is learning the sword, he must have a sword. The sword that Qi Hentian used should not be ordinary. Since it is not in the universe ring, it must be somewhere else in this wooden hut. Shao Chun started to look around. After searching for a long time, he could not find anything. Just as Shao Chun was about to give up, he unexpectedly saw a sharpened tree branch. Holding the tree branch in his hand, Shao Chun could not help but laugh hoarsely. Of course, Qi Hentian's sword techniques had not reached the level where everything could be used as a sword. In the end, he still had some prejudice against sword technique. The pride in his heart looked down on sword technique. In the end, the tool that he used to learn sword techniques was just a sharpened tree branch. There was nothing special about the tree branch. Shao Chun casually tossed it aside and picked up the treasured saber. There were 2 flying dragons carved on the simple and unadorned scabbard. The saber hilt was long and had the words "Roaming Dragon" carved on it. The handguard was like a dragon pearl with 2 flying dragons spitting it out. Grasping the saber hilt tightly, Shao Chun drew the roaming dragon saber with a schwa sound. The saber was 7 feet and 2 inches long. The streamlined blade flickered with a cold light. The instant the roaming dragon saber left its scabbard, it immediately connected with the Qi whirlpool in Shao Chun's dantian. It was like an endless meridian, sending Shao Chun's essence into the saber in an endless stream. Schwa! A strand of saber Qi automatically came out of the saber and chopped the painting of the Saber Emperor on the wall in half. The ability to automatically release saber Qi was a very important ability of a heaven-ranked spirit weapon. It allowed cultivators who had not advanced to Martial Saint to release saber Qi. If they advanced to Martial Saint, the saber Qi would be even more solid. However, this essence exhausted a lot of it. Shao Chun had not held it for long. At this moment, he felt a small portion of his essence depleted. He quickly sheathed the roaming dragon saber. Shao Chun thought about his lunar shadow saber. It was originally a peak heaven-ranked spirit weapon. It was not without reason that Ao Jiao sealed it. Given Shao Chun's cultivation at that time, he would not have been able to even swing his saber once. The harvest in the tree hole was not small. After Shao Chun searched carefully again, he discovered that there was really nothing left. Just as Shao Chun was about to leave, his gaze suddenly fell on the round prayer mat. A prayer mat used by a bona fide peak martial sage to cultivate and meditate should not be something that those roadside stalls can compare to. I'll give it a try first. Otherwise, it would be too unfortunate if I miss out on this treasure, Shao Chun said as he walked towards the prayer mat. Just as Shao Chun sat down cross-legged, a horrifying force came from the bottom of the prayer mat and rebounded at him. The overwhelming force knocked Shao Chun heavily into the wooden wall. Bang! Shao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. Before the force from the collision subsided, his body bounced a few times. Every time he bounced, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Chi, 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 chi. Xiao Qin vomited a total of 9 mouthfuls of blood before he slowly stopped. When he saw the incredibly ordinary prayer mat on the ground, he revealed a horrified expression. Xiao Qin swallowed a blood-replenishing pill and executed the gravity spell. He immediately flew out and jumped off the tree. When he landed on the ground and rested for a long time, Xiao Qian's heart was still thumping heavily. The earlier experience was simply too horrifying. Although it was only for a short moment, Xiao Qin still felt a lingering fear. The instant Xiao Qin sat on the prayer mat, he felt like he could feel the pulse of the entire Lingyun mountain range. He saw a red ball of light jumping continuously under the ground, like a human heart. Spirit veins origin. These were the words that appeared in Xiao Qian's mind at that time. That prayer mat was indeed not simple. There were Tao markings carved on it, which attracted the horrifying energy of the spirit veins origin. However, this was not something that Xiao Qin could use. With his current cultivation, he was not qualified to use the prayer mat before the energy of heaven and earth. Only a sage could use a prayer mat to cultivate and not be knocked back by that huge energy. After a night of silence, Xiao Qin slowly recovered from his internal injuries. His excellent physique allowed him to recover much faster than ordinary people. By the time the sun rose, most of his injuries were already healed. Xiao Qin took out the dragon and tiger body sculpting art and read it carefully. His original plan of searching for 200-year-old herbs had to be put aside for now. Chapter 203. The first and second layers of the dragon and tiger body sculpting art were the foundations. They strengthened the body, increased qi and blood, formed divine energy, and split mountains. Xiao Qin had already reached these levels long ago. Now that he was cultivating the dragon and tiger body sculpting art, there were no obstacles. In just half a day, he had already cultivated it to the second layer. Now, he started on the third layer. Tiger roars deep in the forest, 100 beasts wave. Cultivation techniques were different from martial technique. They did not require a high comprehension ability, one just had to follow the instructions. A person with a good physique, or as the saying goes, a good aptitude would cultivate very quickly. A person with a bad aptitude would cultivate very slowly. 7 days later, Xiao Qin finally cultivated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to the third layer. This was mainly due to his good physical foundation. If a normal person cultivated it, no matter how good their aptitude was, they would have to cultivate for at least a month. After cultivating the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to the third layer, all Xiao Qin had to do now was circulate the cultivation technique. All the bones in his body would crackle and the muscles in his limbs would be filled with explosive energy. When Xiao Qin punched out, aside from the wind from the punch, there was actually the roar of a tiger. The roar sounded continuously, and its aura was very imposing. It was truly the tiger roars deep in the forest, 100 beasts wave, none dared to contend with it. The most direct benefit of cultivating to the third layer was that the strength of the body increased by another 500 kilograms. A full-powered strike could reach the horrifying realm of 4,000 kilograms. On his right hand, after the Phoenix Eye, Laogong, and Daling acupoints, the fourth acupoint, the Naguan acupoint, instantly opened. Following that, Xiao Qin spent a day consolidating the foundations of the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. After that, he started to cultivate the inferior grade earth-ranked fist technique, Great Dragon Tiger Fist. Martial techniques were different from cultivation technique. They required a person's comprehension ability. Only by thinking and thinking could one comprehend the true essence of a martial technique and bring out its full might. The first move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist was Ferocious Tiger leaving the mountains. Xiao Qin had never seen a true ferocious tiger before. He could not understand the aura and movements of the ferocious tiger leaving the mountains. Hence, he felt that it was not smooth when he practiced it. Shao Chun thought about it. When he first came to this underground world, Shao Chun vaguely saw the rank 5 spirit beast Raging Flame Tiger in the depths of the forest. Shao Chun used the gravity spell to fly into the sky and began to search around. A loud whistling sound came from the sky. After rushing over, Shao Chun discovered to his surprise that it was a raging flame tiger hunting for food. A day passed, and Shao Chun did not do anything. He only observed the raging flame tiger's every move from afar. 2 days passed. 3 days passed. In the blink of an eye, Shao Chun had stayed in this dense forest for an entire 7 days. Just like the first day, Shao Chun didn't do anything but observe the raging flame tiger's diet and every move. He was like a crazed demon, as though he had become a raging flame tiger. What great dragon tiger fist! What ferocious tiger descends the mountains! They were all forgotten. On this afternoon, Shao Chun, who had been crazed for a week, suddenly let out a long roar and leaped down from a large tree. He was like a huge tiger pouncing over, startling all the beasts and causing flocks of birds to soar up from the forest. Shao Chun punched through the air. Before his fist landed on the ground, the fierce wind from his fist had already blown away all the leaves on the ground. Leaves filled the sky, and Shao Chun's figure finally landed. In the next moment, there was a loud boom, and a huge pit with a diameter of 20 meters appeared on the ground. Countless pieces of soil flew up, covering the sky like hail. Hoo! Just at this moment, a strong wind blew, and the rocks in the sky turned into dust with a gentle blow. It turned out that Shao Chun's punch was already close to the minute subtlety realm. The soil had already been destroyed from the inside. After being crazed for a week, he instantly comprehended the first move of this inferior grade earth-ranked fist technique: ferocious tiger descends the mountains. Shao Chun had finally practiced it to great perfection. Shao Chun withdrew his fist and stood upright. His essence trembled slightly, shaking off the dust on his body. He revealed a joyful smile. The might of an inferior grade earth-ranked martial technique was indeed extraordinary. After practicing this move, Shao Chun would have another true killing move in close combat, aside from sidestepping attacks. He would be able to bring out the advantage of his physical body. Underground world, natural herb field. Shao Chun hid himself in a dense bush and withdrew his aura. He stared at a bloodthirsty demonic ape 500 meters in front of him. The bloodthirsty demonic ape was a peak rank 5 spirit beast, equivalent to a peak martial saint. As a primate spirit beast, the bloodthirsty demonic ape's intelligence was much higher than most spirit beasts. With its horrifying strength and intelligence, the bloodthirsty demonic ape was hard to deal with. There was a blood lingji close to 300 years old behind it. It was a great tonic. A 300-year-old blood lingji was sufficient for Shao Chun to refine for a period of time. It should be able to increase his vital qi by 250 kilograms. It was hard for Shao Chun to not be tempted. The second move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist, Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon, was a defensive martial technique. He could not comprehend it in a short time. Shao Chun put it aside for now and returned to his original plan of searching for spirit herbs that could increase qi and blood over 200 years old. A 300-year-old blood lingji was his first target. The bloodthirsty demonic ape, which was 5 meters tall, cautiously circled around the blood lingji. Its scarlet eyes were filled with a baleful aura as it stared at its surroundings. Under its strong aura, the rank 5 spirit beasts that wanted to take the blood lingji all avoided it. Shao Chun had already stayed here for 2 days. He had personally seen a peak rank 4 silver-winged wolf torn in half by the bloodthirsty demonic ape's bare hands. The bloody scene was extremely cruel. After observing a few battles over the past 2 days, Shao Chun had a rough understanding of the bloodthirsty demonic ape's strength. The bloodthirsty demonic ape's main attacks were its agility and the strength of its arms, which were close to 5,000 kilograms of force. Furthermore, its red fur was as hard as iron. Regular sabers would find it hard to break it. Xiao Chun calculated in his heart. If he only relied on the strength of his physical body, he would only have a 50% chance of victory. However, if he used various movement techniques and martial techniques, as well as the purple thunder true fire, his chances would increase by 70%. Xiao Chen picked up a small clump of soil from the shrubs. With a thought, he executed the life bestowal spell. The loose soil gave off a spiritual light. After a while, it turned into a small bird flapping its wings as it flew out. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation realm, he could use the life bestowal spell to turn any object into a small animal. However, a true combat weapon still required an object with spiritual energy as a medium. The small bird circled around in the air and flew towards the blood Lingji behind the blood-thirsty demonic ape. After it flew over the blood-thirsty demonic ape, it dived towards the blood Lingji on the ground. The blood-thirsty demonic ape's face, which was very similar to a human's, opened its mouth and revealed a horrifying smile. It leaped up gently and turned into a scarlet light, grabbing at the small bird. "Paw!" The bloodthirsty demonic ape smacked the air with its palm. With a huge force, a faint ripple appeared in the air. However, the small bird seemed to have predicted this. It had already flown 5 meters into the air, dodging this palm strike. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. After 2 days of observation, he was very familiar with the height of the bloodthirsty demonic ape's light leap, the height of its forceful leap, and the height of its full-force leap. The small bird dodged continuously, thoroughly enraging the bloodthirsty demonic ape. It chased it all the way to the shrubs where Xiao Chen was hiding. Pa! Pa! The bloodthirsty demonic ape leaped with all its might, instantly rising 50 meters. Its speed reached its peak. There was only a flash of red light. The small bird could not dodge in time and was smashed into a pile of mush. Pu ci. Just as the bloodthirsty demonic ape was satisfied and was about to land, Xiao Chen leaped out from the bushes. He roared like a tiger and pounced towards the bloodthirsty demonic moon. It was as though a tiger had appeared on his body. The timing of this punch was perfect. It happened to be the instant after the bloodthirsty demonic ape leaped with all its might and landed in midair. The bloodthirsty demonic ape had no way to push off in midair, so it could not dodge Xiao Chen's sudden punch. Bang! The bloodthirsty demonic ape's huge body was sent flying by this punch. The bloodthirsty demonic ape reacted very quickly. It somersaulted in midair and landed on all fours. After sliding back a few meters, it stabilized itself. ZZ. The bloodthirsty demonic ape's 4 limbs dug into the ground, creating deep marks and kicking up a cloud of dust. Xiao Chen did not think at all. He did not care whether the bloodthirsty demonic ape was injured or not, or how injured it was. The instant he punched, he chased after the bloodthirsty demonic ape. Shwa! The instant the bloodthirsty demonic ape landed on the ground, a human figure had already pierced through the cloud of dust. There was a whistling sound and the dust was blown away. Fists flashed as they punched at the bloodthirsty demonic ape. Bang! 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 The bloodthirsty demonic ape, which had already stabilized itself, moved its arms. It was so fast that it could not be seen. It blocked all the fists that Xiao Chen threw at it. 1 man and 1 beast carried out the most primitive battle in the empty space. There were no fancy martial techniques, only the flashing of fists. There were loud bangs and surging shockwaves. The 2 figures flickered continuously in the surroundings. They were so fast that only their shadows could be seen. Woo! The bloodthirsty demonic ape roared ferociously. The huge red hand on its right arm released a scarlet light. In an instant, its speed and strength doubled. Ferocious tiger leaving the mountains. Xiao Chen roared loudly and circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art in his body. All the bones in his body crackled and his strength increased by 20%, reaching 5,000 kilograms of force. The qi and blood in his body surged and burned. Xiao Chen turned into a ferocious tiger and clashed with the huge red hand of the bloodthirsty demonic ape without any fear. In the next moment, the fists clashed and gave off a loud sound. Both sides had a force of close to 10,000 kilograms. They exploded in the air. The sound of the explosion was like a sudden clap of thunder. The entire natural herb field trembled. If someone saw Xiao Chen competing with a spirit beast in terms of strength, they would definitely laugh at him for overestimating himself. Everyone knew that the physique of beasts was stronger than that of humans, be it in terms of recovery or strength. Different races naturally had different advantages. When dealing with these spirit beasts, which were known for their strength, most cultivators would use techniques to obtain victory. No one would be foolish enough to compete in strength. So. The figures of a few spirit beasts in the distance quickly rushed over. They stopped not far away and stared at Xiao Chen and the bloodthirsty demonic ape like tigers watching their prey. These spirit beasts were not foolish. They wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. When both sides were injured, they would take advantage of the situation and obtain the 300-year-old bloodlingji. After this strike, blood leaked out from the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. He was knocked back 10 steps. With every step he took, he left a 4-meter-deep footprint on the ground. Chapter 204. The ground trembled continuously. As Xiao Chen retreated, he slowly dissipated the force of the bloodthirsty demonic ape's attack. Naturally, the bloodthirsty demonic ape did not know how to borrow force. The force of the inferior grade earth-ranked martial technique, fierce tiger leaving the mountains, completely entered its body. Even though the bloodthirsty demonic ape had tough skin and flesh, it could not withstand it. Blood poured out from all the pores on its body, dyeing its red fur even redder. It looks like I underestimated the might of the dragon and tiger body sculpting art and the great dragon tiger fist. Who knows, I might be able to defeat this bloodthirsty demonic ape with just the strength of my physical body, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Who? 2 figures flashed. Xiao Chen and the bloodthirsty demonic ape moved at the same time. The bloodthirsty demonic ape seemed to go berserk. It raised its speed to its limits and turned into a red blur. Its 4 limbs were covered in a red glow. As it moved up and down, it punched and kicked. Xiao Chen did not dodge. The bones in his body gave off a pili-pala sound. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art circulated continuously. The qi and blood in his body burned to their limits, like a huge furnace. Bang! 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 1 man and 1 beast clashed again. This time, the battle was several times more intense than before. Every clash contained at least 5,000 kilograms of force. Thunderous explosions rang out endlessly, causing ripples in the air. More and more spirit beasts were attracted over and surrounded the area. The battle lasted for close to 2 hours. There was still no victor. Xiao Chen was covered in sweat. He felt very carefree and excited. He could not help but roar loudly. This was a true battle. A prolonged battle was an advantage for Xiao Chen. His body had been tempered by the 7-leaf flower. He had already been reborn. Furthermore, he had recently consumed countless herbs to increase his qi and blood. Furthermore, there was the inferior grade earth-ranked body strengthening art and the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Xiao Chen seemed to have an inexhaustible amount of energy. He did not show any signs of exhaustion. Instead, his aura grew stronger. On the other hand, although the demonic bloodlust ape was slightly stronger than Xiao Chen, it could not take down Xiao Chen in one move. After fighting for 2 hours, the internal injuries it had inflicted on Xiao Chen had gradually accumulated to a dangerous level. However, his stamina was clearly unable to keep up. He couldn't wait for the moment when Xiao Chen's internal injuries backfired. When they clashed head-on, he was actually pushed back by Xiao Chen. For a time, it was forced to retreat step by step. Xiao Chen's countless punches landed on its body. Die for me! With a kick, Xiao Chen sent the demonic bloodthirsty ape flying. With a loud shout, the 4 acupoints on his right arm, Phoenix Eye, Lao Gong, Deling, and Naguan, suddenly released 4 balls of green light, enveloping his entire arm. With a dragon's roar, the green light transformed into a blurry blue dragon, and gushed out from Xiao Chen's right arm. Before the bloodthirsty devil ape could get up, a blue dragon flashed and crashed into its body. Bang! 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 4 explosions rang out. The bloodthirsty devil ape's 5-meter-tall body was blasted into smithereens. Blood rained down from the sky. With a suction force, Xiao Chen grabbed the bloodthirsty devil ape's spirit core. Who? The instant the bloodthirsty devil ape died, the surrounding spirit beasts immediately charged at Xiao Chen. More than 100 spirit beasts pounced at Xiao Chen. A bunch of beasts. You want to sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight? How reckless! Xiao Chen smiled coldly and drew the heaven-ranked roaming dragon saber. Shwa! A sharp saber chi flashed, and a rank 4 spirit beast in the air was directly chopped in half. These spirit beasts were mostly rank 4, and a few of them were early-stage rank 5. There were about 100 of them. After all, these high-rank spirit beasts had their own spirit herbs. If they left now, the spirit herbs they were waiting for might be stolen by other spirit beasts. Furthermore, the truly strong spirit beasts would not be too interested in this bloodlingji. All this while, Xiao Chen had been using the strength of his physical body. He had not exhausted much of the essence in the qi whirlpool in his body. Hence, although he had noticed the surrounding spirit beasts, he did not pay them much attention. Xiao Chen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and his figure turned into a roaming dragon. He soared up and down, leaving behind many dragon images. These spirit beasts could not even touch his clothes. Occasionally, the saber chi on the roaming dragon saber would be sent out, allowing Xiao Chen to kill these spirit beasts from a distance. Light flickered as the saber chi moved about. Occasionally, a spirit beast would be chopped in half. This was the might of a heaven-ranked spirit weapon. Wherever the light passed, no one dared to fight it. This allowed Xiao Chen to test out the saber chi that only a martial saint could execute. The saber chi of some early-stage inferior-grade martial saints were not as dense as Xiao Chen's saber chi. However, this essence exhausted a lot. Xiao Chen only felt better after consuming a chi-returning pill. Dang! Dang! A spirit beast with pitch-black skin that was as hard as steel actually managed to block a few saber chi. It roared as it charged at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and executed the roaming dragon's 9 transformations. He quickly turned into 9 figures in the air. His saber light was withdrawn as he sent out 9 clear wind chop. Instantly, a cool breeze blew. Xiao Chen's black hair and clothes fluttered in the wind, making him look very elegant. When the 2 figures merged together, Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. The body of the spirit beast that had skin as hard as steel split into 9 pieces. A large amount of blood spurted out. Xiao Chen sent out a saber chi and easily chopped another rank 4 spirit beast pouncing at him in half. The essence on Xiao Chen's body trembled. Not a single drop of blood landed on Xiao Chen's clothes. Spirit beasts were afraid of death as well. After Xiao Chen killed most of them like he was chopping vegetables, the remaining immediately scattered like birds and beasts. The corner of Xiao Chen's lips curled up into a cold smile. He did not care about these scattered spirit beasts. He looked at the center of the herb field where the flowing light lamp was. On the other side, he felt a sharp gaze that was filled with killing intent looking at him. It was the peak of the 6th rank spirit beast that was guarding the flowing light golden lamp. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense shot out like an arrow. He instantly saw the peak rank 6 spirit beast. It was a horrifying venomous snake. It had a body as big as a small car. When the snake coiled up, it looked like a small mountain. A cold light flashed in its eyes. It opened its huge mouth, and its red forked tongue flicked in and out continuously. Behind it was a small tree about 1/2 meter tall that gave off a flowing light. The leaves on the tree gave off a bright golden light. When the wind blew, the light overflowed. It was very dazzling. This should be the flowing light lamp. The flowing light flower would bloom only after 500 years. After another 500 years, it would bear the flowing light lamp fruit. It was a natural treasure close to immortal grade. Xiao Qin recognized this venomous snake. It was a rank 6 spirit beast, the scarlet-crowned snake. Based on its huge body, it had probably lived for hundreds of years. The killing chi in its eyes slowly disappeared. Xiao Qin heaved a sigh of relief. It looked like the scarlet-crowned snake would not leave the flowing light lamp so easily. The scarlet-crowned snake's gaze seemed to be a deterrent. It saw that Xiao Qin frequently entered this herb field and killed spirit beasts to obtain herbs. It was warning him not to have any ideas about the flowing light lamp. Xiao Qin could understand why the scarlet-crowned snake was so nervous. Compared to humans, spirit beasts had a natural advantage in terms of physique. However, they were lacking in intelligence. No matter how crafty a spirit beast was, it could not compare to humans. Thus, the importance of the flowing light flower went without saying. If it had the intelligence of a human, this scarlet-crowned snake might be able to become a spirit. Comprehension ability was naturally attractive to Xiao Qin. However, it was not worth risking his life for it. Xiao Qin did not have much interest in this flowing light lamp. Withdrawing his gaze, Xiao Qin took out the spirit core of the spirit beast on the ground. After that, he unhurriedly picked up the 300-year-old bloodlingji. After doing all this, Xiao Qin immediately piloted the silver warship and left the herb field. He flew towards the towering tree. Xiao Qin was not in a rush to consume the bloodlingji. After he landed, he immediately circulated his energy to treat his injuries. The head-on clash with the bloodthirsty demonic ape had accumulated a lot of internal injuries in his body. If he did not deal with them in time, it would leave behind hidden injuries in the future, harming him for life. Pu Ci. After an hour, Xiao Qin vomited a large mouthful of blood. The hidden injuries in his body had completely healed, eliminating any future problems. After a day of silence, Xiao Qin did not do anything but recover his body. This was how battles of the physical body were. Injuring the enemy 1,000 times, injuring oneself 800 times. When 5,000 kilograms of force was used, at least 10% of it would be transmitted to the body. This was a common problem for cultivators of the physical body. In the past, Xiao Qin was not clear on this. It was only because he saw it in the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Unless his physical body reached the level of sage, this flaw was unavoidable. Now that he knew, he could not be careless. Of course, he could not leave behind any hidden injuries. Only on the second day did Xiao Qin start to consume the bloodlingji. The bloodlingji was close to 300 years old. Xiao Qin used an entire day to completely refine it. This made him slightly disappointed. This bloodlingji, which he had high hopes for, only increased his strength by 200 kilograms. It looked like the further he went, the more difficult it would be to increase his strength by relying on external forces. Adding the 200 kilograms of force, Xiao Qin's full power strike could reach a force of 5,500 kilograms. After he circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art, his strength could increase by another 20%. In the following half a month, Xiao Qin searched for spirit herbs that were more than 100 years old to temper his physical body. His strength slowly increased. The third layer of the dragon and tiger body sculpting art had also completely stabilized. He slowly advanced to the fourth layer, dragon roar throughout the world, piercing the heavens. With the tempering of the 300-year-old spirit herbs, Xiao Qin's full power strike reached 5,000 kilograms of force with much difficulty. Another 2 acupoints on his right arm opened up. There was a total of 18 acupoints on his right arm. A third of them were opened. The blurry blue dragon that Xiao Qin sent out also slowly became plump. He could clearly see the scales on the dragon's body. It seemed to have a trace of life. On this particular day, Xiao Qin strolled around the herb field, searching for spirit herbs that were more than 300 years old to increase qi and blood. He had come here too many times. He had already collected all the herbs that were used to increase qi and blood. Now it was getting more and more difficult to find them. His spiritual sense was useless in this place. There were too many herbs, and it was not easy to use his spiritual sense to sort them. He could only walk and search with his eyes. Boom! Just at this moment, the surrounding spiritual energy fluctuated wildly. All of it rushed towards the center of the herb field. In that instant, the spiritual energy was so dense that it was like flowing water. Xiao Qin turned his head to take a look. The flowing light marigold gave off a boundless golden light. It was resplendent and dazzling. The spiritual energy turned into a rainbow, covering the entire space. Chapter 205. A multicolored light descended from the sky, wrapping around the flowing light marigold. Multicolored light floated down from the sky like snowflakes. This was an auspicious sign. The pure spiritual energy in the surroundings contained even more essence than an inferior-grade spirit stone. The flowing light marigold actually blossomed, an auspicious sign from the heavens. "This is actually an immortal-grade spirit herb," Xiao Qin said as he looked at the multicolored light in the sky. "I cannot waste this auspicious sign, I have to collect it." A large flock of birds flew over and swallowed the auspicious signs. In an instant, the sky was covered with the figures of flying spirit beasts. Xiao Qin summoned out the silver warship and leaped onto it, joining the fighting army. Xiao Qin took out a jade bottle and faced the multicolored light falling from the sky. He gently waved his hand and drew it into the jade bottle. Rumble! Suddenly, loud sounds came from the ground. Xiao Qin looked down and discovered that the scarlet-crowned snake was being surrounded. 8 rank 6 spirit beasts were fighting the scarlet-crowned snake intensely. A rank 6 spirit beast was equivalent to a martial king. When 9 rank 6 spirit beasts fought, the scene was extremely chaotic. The loud sounds came one after another. Many hundred-year-old herbs were destroyed in large amounts. Even though it was 1 against 8, the scarlet-crowned snake was not at a disadvantage. It was evenly matched. When its mountain-like body moved, the entire ground trembled. These 9 spirit beasts also knew that their area of battle was too wide. They had a tacit understanding and avoided the flowing light marigold, fighting from a distance. On the flowing light marigold, a golden flower bud slowly blossomed. It gave off a bright light and the dense spiritual energy was like a mist, making everything hazy. Xiao Qin looked at the 9 spirit beasts fighting in the distance. Then, he looked at the flowing light marigold blossoming on the flowing light marigold. His heart skipped a beat. It seems like this is an opportunity. If I am fast enough, I can descend from the sky and pluck the flowing light marigold before they can react. After that, I will quickly leave this place. After all, this herb field was becoming less attractive to me. It would not be a pity to leave. Hu Qi. Just as Xiao Qin was thinking about this topic, a black dot was approaching from the horizon. It was flying towards him like a bolt of lightning. Its speed was as fast as a ribbon, leaving a long ray of light in the sky. It was a large blue bird with a wingspan of 10 meters. It tore through the air, bringing with it a violent airflow as it flew towards the flowing light marquee. What he was doing was exactly what Xiao Qin was thinking. Xiao Qin cursed in his heart. He was thinking too much. He should have just rushed forward. The big blue bird had already seized the initiative, and its speed was even faster than Xiao Qin's. Even if he attacked with all his might, he wouldn't be able to catch up. He could only watch as the flowing light flower was snatched away by the strange bird. Bang! Just as the giant blue bird opened its mouth and was about to take away the flowing light flower, a gust of wind blew. The scarlet-crowned snake swept its tail across the sky and sent the big blue bird flying. Swish, swish, swish. The other 8 spirit beasts stopped attacking the scarlet-crowned snake, and each of them attacked the blue bird. The blue bird that was struggling to escape in the air immediately fell to the ground. Paw! The scarlet-crowned snake's tail smacked down heavily, and the huge blue bird immediately turned into a bloody mess, turning into a pile of meat paste. Xiao Chen was startled. When he saw the bloody corpse of the huge blue bird, he felt a chill run down his spine. These spirit beasts were not stupid. They knew that there would be other spirit beasts taking advantage of their fight to snatch away the flowing light flower. If other spirit beasts came to snatch the flowing light flower, they would stop fighting and attack together. The combined attack of 9 rank 6 spirit beasts was unstoppable in this underground world. Xiao Chen's back broke out in a cold sweat. If it were not for this anxious bird, he would be the one lying on the ground. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen focused all his attention on the 5-colored auspicious signs in the sky. In the blink of an eye, most of the auspicious signs in the sky had been devoured. Xiao Chen quickly piloted the silver warship and turned it into a silver bolt of lightning, collecting the 5-colored auspicious signs in all directions. However, it could not compare to the dense flock of birds. There were simply too many of them. Xiao Chen only managed to collect 20 auspicious signs before the rest were all devoured. Xiao Chen shook his head and closed the jade bottle. He glanced at the 9 spirit beasts fighting non-stop before leaving this place. After finding a quiet place, Xiao Chen took out the jade bottle containing the auspicious signs. He revealed a faint smile on his face. Although the essence contained in the auspicious signs was not as much as a medial-grade spirit stone, it was what Xiao Chen needed urgently. The essence contained in a medial-grade spirit stone was very vast. However, one could only use it after advancing to medial-grade martial saint. Otherwise, the essence would cause one's body to explode. As for the essence contained in the auspicious signs, although it was much weaker than a medial-grade spirit stone, it was very gentle. Cultivators of any cultivation realm could directly absorb it without worrying about their body exploding. Even an inferior-grade martial disciple could directly absorb this energy, which far exceeded what their body could handle. If Xiao Chen took these 20 auspicious signs to the market, they would be worth 2,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Right now, Xiao Chen lacked everything except spirit stones. Naturally, he would not use them to exchange for spirit stones. Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and opened the jade bottle containing the auspicious signs. He slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. The 5-colored auspicious signs slowly floated out and entered Xiao Chen's nostrils. Streams of gentle and majestic pure essence flowed into Xiao Chen's meridians. The qi whirlpool in his dantian spun quickly, absorbing all this essence. The speed at which the qi whirlpool absorbed essence was much faster than what Xiao Chen had done in the past. Soon, a drop of clear liquid essence dripped below his dantian. Dida, dida, the qi whirlpool spun quickly. Drops of pure essence dripped continuously, transforming the spiritual energy in the 5-colored auspicious signs into his own energy. The essence contained in the 20 auspicious signs was equivalent to 5 medial-grade spirit stones. After Xiao Chen absorbed all of them, his energy reached a horrifying level. Furthermore, the most important thing was that there was no danger. This surging energy was extremely gentle. It was like a spring breeze as it infused into Xiao Chen's body. After 2 hours, Xiao Chen finally absorbed all of this energy. Xiao Chen opened his eyes. There was a purple glow in his eyes. It was as sharp as a solid object. When Xiao Chen got up and felt the surging energy in his body, he said ruefully, "I am finally a superior-grade martial Grand Master. My cultivation realm is still a little low, but my energy is sufficient." If one wanted to advance to martial saint, aside from energy, one needed some comprehension. Their understanding of essence had to reach a corresponding level before they could use essence to injure others. After absorbing 20 auspicious signs, Xiao Chen's current strength was comparable to that of a regular inferior-grade martial saint. He was only a step away from advancing to martial saint. Kasie. Xiao Chen drew the lunar shadow saber and a blazing saber light appeared. With a thought, Xiao Chen infused his essence into the saber in an endless stream. The saber light suddenly doubled in size, reaching 10 meters. Xiao Chen shook his head and casually waved his hand, scattering the essence on the saber. He said indifferently, "It is condensed but not solid. It is too gorgeous. There is no way to send out saber chi like this." Martial Saint was the first hurdle of a cultivator. In this Tianwu continent, one could not be considered a true expert without becoming a martial saint. Some people would never be able to overcome this hurdle, spending their entire lives in mediocrity. The earlier one advanced to martial saint, the greater the potential one had. Otherwise, it would be the opposite. Xiao Chen was almost 17 years old. To be able to advance to peak martial saint at this age, his talent would be considered at the peak of the great Qin nation. Of course, he had to exclude those proud sons of heaven with inherited martial spirit. However, in the context of the entire continent, this kind of talent was nothing much. I might not be a genius, but I have never slacked off. The so-called geniuses are just slightly better than me. Sooner or later, I will surpass those people, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Rumble! In the herb field in the distance, the battle of the 9 spirit beasts had not ended yet. Loud explosions resounded continuously. Even though Xiao Chen was standing far away, he could feel the fluctuations of spiritual energy in the air. Xiao Chen took a look and said, "It is time to leave this place. I have already collected all the spirit herbs that increase qi and blood in the herb field. If I do not return soon, elder sister Ryue and the others will be worried." Bang! Bang! Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave, there were 2 explosions that were even louder than before. The ground trembled continuously. Even Xiao Chen's body was shaking left and right. What a horrifying force! Has the victor been decided? Xiao Chen was horrified. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense shot out like an arrow. In the next moment, the situation there was clearly imprinted in Xiao Chen's mind. A poisonous fog spread out. The black poisonous qi was like black threads lingering around. The surrounding spirit herbs no longer had any signs of life under the black qi. Large patches of poisonous qi covered the herb field. Several 100-year-old herbs were all destroyed. Xiao Chen thought to himself, what a pity. Any one of these herbs would be worth tens of thousands of gold coins in the outside world. As Xiao Chen's spiritual sense moved through the fog, he saw the corpse of a rank 6 spirit beast. Its entire body was black, and its head was separated from its body. As Xiao Chen continued to look, he saw the corpses of another 7 rank 6 spirit beasts. They all died in different ways, but their bodies were all black. They looked very scary. Xiao Chen thought to himself, this is a poison that even rank 6 spirit beasts cannot withstand. If I were to come in contact with this poisonous qi, I would probably die immediately. Pooh! Pooh! The poisonous qi slowly scattered. The scarlet-crowned snake, which was the size of a small mountain, slowly slithered towards the flowing light marigold tree. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, he discovered that this scarlet-crowned snake was not completely unscathed. Its huge body was covered in wounds of varying depths. It was dripping with blood. Every time it took a step, blood spurted out and splashed on the ground. It was clear that although it defeated the other spirit beasts, it was severely injured. Xiao Chen thought quickly, thinking of all sorts of possibilities. If this scarlet-crowned snake is only as fast as it is now, then I should be able to dodge it with my blue dragon cloud soaring art. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and 5 ice ape sculptures appeared in his hand. There were still 5 ice apes. He should be able to delay for a while. These 5 ice apes were carved before Xiao Chen came to the underground world. He had not had a chance to use them. Perhaps they could be of great use at this moment. Even so, Xiao Chen still felt like he was fighting with himself. He hesitated. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Although this scarlet-crowned snake was severely injured, it was hard to guarantee that it did not have any trump cards up its sleeve. Chapter 206. If he made a decision now, he might not be able to leave this underground world for the rest of his life. He had no choice but to be cautious. The scarlet-crowned snake was getting closer and closer to the flowing light marigold tree. There was not much time left for Xiao Chen to think. "I'll risk it." Xiao Chen made up his mind. The silver warship flew out from his right eye and enlarged. Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet and leaped onto the bow of the warship. Then, he sped towards the flowing light marigold tree. Life bestowal spell. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The 5 engravings in the air grew larger. When they landed, they were already the size of the rank 5 spirit beast, the Ice Ape. This was the first time Xiao Chen controlled 5 spirit beasts at the same time. The instant the spirit beasts formed, he felt a quarter of the surging essence in his body disappear. He also entered a momentary daze and felt a little dizzy. Looks like before the purple thunder divine incantation rises to the 4th layer, controlling 5 spirit beasts at the same time is too much, Xiao Chen thought to himself after calming himself. Without thinking, the 5 ice apes would not be able to stop the scarlet-crowned snake. After a while, Xiao Chen jumped off the warship and quickly descended towards the flowing light marigold tree. Hoo! Hoo! The wind blew past his ears. Faster! 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 Xiao Chen kept saying in his heart. There had never been a moment where Xiao Chen felt that he would take so long to land. With a bang, an ice ape was directly swallowed by the scarlet-crowned snake. Schwa schwa schwa. With a flick of its tail, another 2 ice apes were crushed into a pile of sawdust by the scarlet-crowned snake's huge strength. There are still 3 more seconds before I can land, Xiao Chen thought anxiously. If he did not land before the ice ape was destroyed, he would become a live target in the air, unable to borrow any force. A rank 5 spirit beast was nothing in front of the scarlet-crowned snake. Even though it was severely injured, the scarlet-crowned snake could easily destroy an ice ape in one strike. The situation was extremely dangerous. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen made hand gestures and shouted, "Explode, rank 5 ice ape." Boom boom. The 2 rank 5 ice apes frantically absorbed the surrounding ice-attributed spiritual energy. Specks of cold light appeared in the air as Xiao Chen spoke. Kacha, kacha, kacha. With 2 crisp sounds, it was as if the ice had been shattered. The temperature of the air suddenly dropped by a few hundred degrees. The 2 ice apes turned into cold stars, covering the ground with a layer of frost. The scarlet-crowned snake's huge body was instantly covered with frost chi. Its body that was like a small mountain turned into a cold ice mountain, not moving at all. The self-destruction of the 2 ice apes exhausted Xiao Chen's strength. Xiao Chen swallowed an essence chi pill and used this opportunity to land firmly on the ground. The glowing flowing light flower was as resplendent as gold. Now that it was right in front of him, the dense fragrance of the flower assaulted his nostrils. Immediately, Xiao Chen felt refreshed, and his nervous heart relaxed. If I am going to play, I will play big. As he stood in front of the flowing light flower, Xiao Chen's ambition grew. 1 flowing light flower was nothing. If he could bring away the entire flowing light marigold, it would be worth it. Xiao Chen took out the lunar shadow saber from the universe ring. With a flash of saber light, he chopped the flowing light marigold in half. This was an immortal-grade natural treasure. As long as it was not uprooted, it could grow again. The glow of the flowing light flower faded at a visible rate. Xiao Chen quickly placed the flowing light flower and the lunar shadow saber into the universe ring. Ka ka ka, the ice sealing the scarlet-crowned snake started to slowly shatter. Xiao Chen turned his head to take a look and saw a gust of strong wind blowing at him, causing his hair to flutter. He squinted his eyes slightly. Holy Beast Martial Spirit, Blue Dragon Dragon Chi, Fengyan Acupoint, Laogong acupoint, Daling acupoint, Naguan acupoint open. A dangerous aura assaulted him. Xiao Chen did not have time to think. He faced the strong wind and shouted. The 6 acupoints on his right arm instantly opened. 6 rays of azure light appeared and turned into a blue dragon circling around Xiao Chen's arm. The feeling of boundless energy assaulted him once again. His entire right arm felt like it was going to explode. Bang! The blue dragon did not fly out. Instead, it clashed heavily with the snake tail. A huge force was transmitted, causing the qi and blood in Xiao Chen's body to churn. He flew backwards in the air. Under the full-powered attack of a peak martial king, Xiao Chen was able to retreat unscathed. Xiao Chen thought to himself, how lucky. He vomited a mouthful of blood and dispersed the churning qi and blood. Shwa! With a thought, a silver bolt of lightning quickly flew over and caught Xiao Chen, who was about to land. Xiao Chen stood on the bow of the warship. Before he could catch his breath, another strong wind blew. Another gust of wind blew. This time, the scarlet-crowned snake's huge tail was even faster than before. In an instant, it struck the silver warship. Under the huge force, Xiao Chen was sent flying. He was like a sandbag in the air, flipping around continuously. He did not have the strength to retaliate at all. Ka-sie, the silver warship cracked continuously. After a while, it shattered into countless silver motes of light and flew into Xiao Chen's right eye. The scarlet-crowned snake's attack had actually shattered Xiao Chen's secret treasure. Xiao Chen did not have the time to deal with the sudden turn of events. After he landed, the huge snake tail struck down continuously, causing the ground to tremble. Every step was filled with killing intent. It did not give Xiao Chen any time to catch his breath. Xiao Chen ran for his life. In the time it took for him to land, he covered tens of meters. The potential of his body was completely stimulated. Shockwaves surged behind him. There were a few times when the snake tail was already above his head, but he managed to dodge it by a hair's breadth. At this moment, Xiao Chen forgot all about movement techniques, essence, and martial technique. There was no time for him to circulate his qi. He could only rely on his physical body to run for his life. The huge tail chased after Xiao Chen and struck down continuously. The surging shockwaves struck his back, nearly sending him flying a few times. However, Xiao Chen managed to dodge it by a hair's breadth. This is not a solution. I do not even have time to circulate my qi. What should I do? Xiao Chen ran frantically as he thought anxiously. Originally, Xiao Chen thought that after he executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, he would have no problem escaping. However, the current situation did not give him any chance to circulate his qi. If he paused for even a moment, he would be smashed into meat paste by the huge force. I can't keep running like this. I have to find an opportunity to catch my breath. Otherwise, it will chase me to death. How should I find an opportunity? The scarlet-crowned snake was clearly in a berserk state. He had already used the blue dragon qi once. He could not use it again in a short period of time. With the strength of his physical body, he would not be able to fight against it. As Xiao Chen ran forward quickly, he tried to think of a countermeasure. Since he could not clash head-on, could he make use of the force to retreat? After that, he executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and the roaming dragon's 9 transformations, completely breaking away from the scarlet-crowned snake. Using his strength to escape was something Xiao Chen had not learned before. He could only rely on himself to find the right opportunity. If he wanted to successfully use his strength, timing was the most important. If he could not find the right opportunity, he would be smashed to death by the scarlet-crowned snake. After dodging a few more attacks from the scarlet-crowned snake, Xiao Chen carefully felt the direction of the wind, as well as the timing of the huge snake's tail. Rumble! The huge snake's tail smashed down, causing the ground to tremble. Then, it quickly whipped up. Its upper body was already standing upright. A cold light flickered in its eyes. Its scarlet tongue flickered continuously as it watched Xiao Chen dodge again. The scarlet-crowned snake hissed a few times in anger. It twisted its waist, and its tail created a strong wind as it smashed down again. Xiao Chen could feel the direction of the wind. Now was the time. He did not hesitate to turn around and lean to the right. Just as the huge snake tail was about to land, he smashed his palm against the side of the snake tail. Xiao Chen did not use any force in this palm strike. He only slid his palm to the side of the snake's tail the instant he touched it. Hoo! Xiao Chen's body immediately flew to the right. He felt joy in his heart. He succeeded. Although there was still a small portion of the snake's strength that was not completely dissipated, it was still very horrifying. However, it was already within the acceptable range. Xiao Chen smiled gently and took advantage of the opportunity to execute the high-level technique of the Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art, Cloud Dragon's 9 transformations. Instantly, 9 figures appeared in the sky. When the 9 figures merged together and landed, Xiao Chen had already leaped a long distance. Pa! Pa! When the scarlet-crowned snake saw Xiao Chen fling himself away, it slammed its huge tail on the ground. Its huge body soared into the air, covering the sky. It was not slow at all. Xiao Chen turned his head around and saw a huge mouth above his head. Its red tongue was spitting out a cold light. The black hole looked like it was going to swallow Xiao Chen up in the next moment. A faint smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face as he stopped. He was not startled, but happy. You chased me for so long. Now that you have delivered yourself to me, I will let you suffer a little. Purple thunder, true fire, shoot. A fierce flame burned in Xiao Chen's right eye. After a while, it condensed into a fire dragon and shot towards the scarlet-crowned snake's mouth. Boom! The fire dragon instantly drilled into the scarlet-crowned snake. The huge body of the scarlet-crowned snake trembled and rolled on the ground. Xiao Chen ignored it. He took advantage of this opportunity and quickly headed for the exit of the underground world. He knew that such a small amount of fire would not be able to kill it. After an hour, Xiao Chen felt the exit of the underground world. When he arrived at the pitch-black hole, he did not hesitate and walked out with large stride. When Xiao Chen passed through the hole, the initial feeling of being in a trance attacked him again. This time, Xiao Chen paid attention. He could clearly feel that feeling of being in a trance. It was like he had passed through a different world. When Xiao Chen turned his head around, he saw an inconceivable scene. There was no underground world behind him. It was pitch black and he could not see anything clearly. Xiao Chen was astonished. He was flabbergasted as he muttered, "How can this be? I clearly just came out from there. How did it disappear in an instant?" Xiao Chen could not believe what he saw. He rushed forward frantically. The pitch-black hole did not take him long before he bumped into the wall. Other than soil, there was nothing else. Could it be that everything I experienced in the past month was fake? Xiao Chen scratched his head and said in confusion, "Everything was just a dream." Xiao Chen took out the flowing light marigold from the universe ring. Only then did he slowly calm down. He still had his energy and the medial-grade spirit stones in his ring had not decreased. Chapter 207. This meant that that world definitely existed. Xiao Chen thought about it carefully. What was the difference between the first time he came here and now? There had to be a reason for the current situation. After a while, a light flashed in Xiao Chen's mind. He said, "When I first came here, there was no spiritual energy in my body. Now, my body is filled with spiritual energy. That is the biggest difference. That underground world should be a small world created by a senior. Only those who reached the sage realm and became one with the world could enter. Or perhaps, only ordinary people without spiritual energy could enter. Furthermore, it was very likely that this was the small world created by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's founding ancestor, the Saber Emperor. Now, Xiao Chen had stumbled into it by chance. If he had not lost all his essence, if he had not been swept here by the underground river, he would not have been able to reach this place. There were many reasons for this. This was probably the so-called fortuitous encounter. Thinking about it, it was a pity. Originally, Xiao Chen was prepared to explore the entire underground world when he had the chance. It looked like he could not enter before he became a martial sage. Xiao Chen shook his head and recollected his thoughts. Since he had already come out, there was no need to think about this problem. What he had to think about now was how to return to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When Xiao Chen arrived at the underground river, he slowly stopped at the riverbank where he had climbed up in a sorry state. Everything that had happened that day was still vivid in his mind. His essence had disappeared, his internal injuries were severe, his stamina was weak, and the undercurrents were all very dangerous. In the end, he had encountered all of them. However, the conviction in his heart did not extinguish. He had climbed up in the end. He still had many important things to do. He could not die so early. He had not rescued Ao Jiao from the lunar shadow saber. He had not dealt with the noble clans in the Dongming province. He had not figured out why he was chased out of the Shao clan. There were too many enemies that he had not defeated yet. He had not even opened the door to becoming a cultivator. On the path of cultivation, it would be a pity if he died just like that. Looking at his reflection in the water, Xiao Chen thought of something. He had to change his appearance. Otherwise, no one would recognize him. Xiao Chen's face suddenly turned blurry as soon as he used the shape-shifting technique. He recalled Yi Chen's appearance in his mind, and the bones in his face began to move rapidly. On the surface of the water, Yi Chen's rather ordinary face appeared. It completely changed Xiao Chen's sharp and unrestrained temperament. Xiao Chen looked at the surface of the water and smiled in satisfaction. He leaped up and stood on the surface of the water. He went against the current and walked on the waves. If he wanted to go back, there was no other way aside from going back. The only way Xiao Chen could think of was to return to the place where the Demon King was suppressed. Once he found Yuan, he would be able to leave. The tip of Xiao Chen's feet tapped lightly on the surface of the water as if he was running on flat ground. He dashed forward at an extremely fast speed. After a while, a mountain wall appeared in front of Xiao Chen, and the river under his feet flowed down from the mountain wall. Thump! Since the river could flow down, it meant that there was a path ahead. Xiao Chen stopped cultivating and dove to the bottom of the river. Then, he swam against the undercurrent. After swimming for a long time, Xiao Chen felt the mountain wall above him disappear. He floated up again and walked on the surface of the water. After walking for a long time, he discovered that the river under his feet was just a tributary. The further he walked, the more astonished Xiao Chen was. There were many tributaries in this underground river. They were dense and wide. Along the way, Xiao Chen had already come across more than 10 tributaries. Some places even had 4 tributaries. The water flowed downwards. Fortunately, there was only one main tributary upstream. As long as Xiao Chen kept going upstream, he would eventually find the cave where the Demon King was suppressed. 2 days later, Xiao Chen was in a river. Before he surfaced, he felt a familiar feeling. This was because the rotten smell of the dried corpse in the river had yet to dissipate. Have I finally found my way back? The moment Xiao Chen surfaced, he saw Yuan sitting at a wooden table on the shore, smiling at him. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. He did not expect to run into this person the moment he came up. He used his essence to disperse all the water droplets on his body. Immediately, hot air surrounded Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen stepped on the water surface and slowly walked out of the fog. When he arrived in front of Yuan, the water vapor on his body had already evaporated. His clothes and hair were extremely dry. When Yuan saw all this, a strange look flashed in his eyes. He poured a cup of wine and handed it to Xiao Chen. He smiled faintly and said, "It looks like you had a fortuitous encounter. Not only did your cultivation not get crippled, it even improved greatly. I can no longer see through you." Xiao Chun received the wine cup and drained it in one gulp. When he saw Yi Wen, he originally thought he had a lot to say. However, when he saw Yi Wen so calm, he did not know what to say. How is Biyun Peak's Song Ke now? After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen asked the question he was most concerned about. Yi Wen drank by himself and drank another cup of wine. He said casually, I crippled one of his arms, but he is still a peak master. However, don't worry, ancestral martial ancestor Shun already warned him. If you go out, he will not dare to cause trouble for you. You crippled one of his arms. Xiao Chen looked at Yi Wen in astonishment. It was not that he did not think Yi Wen did not have the strength to do so. It was just that he did not expect Yi Wen to offend a peak master for him. Furthermore, looking at Yi Wen's calm manner, it was as though he did not care about it at all. It was as though this was a small matter, and there was no need for him to care about it. Yi Wen stood up and said, Let's go, there is no need to make a fuss about nothing. I'll bring you out. Yi Wen slowly put away the wine cups on the table. After he spoke, he took the lead and walked out. He looked at Xiao Chen behind him and said, You are really lucky. That girl, Lu Ryue, even came down personally to look for you not long ago. Elder sister Ryue came to look for me? Xiao Chen was startled. He said, Then what did you say to her? Did you tell her the truth? Am I stupid? Do you think I do not know her character? If I told her the truth, she would immediately go to Biyun Peak and risk her life, Yi Wen said indifferently. Xiao Chen was rendered speechless by Yi Wen's words. Not long after, Yi Wen asked again, What is your relationship with Leng Liusu? Leng Liusu? There shouldn't be any relationship. I am not familiar with her, Xiao Chen said suspiciously. He did not know why Yi Wen would ask such a question. Yi Wen said, That is strange. She used her identity as the young pavilion master and went through the elders' assembly to send people to look for you a few times. Leng Liusu also came to look for him? Xiao Chen could not understand what was going on. He wanted to ask Yi Wen what was going on. However, when he saw Yi Wen's expression, he swallowed his words. Yi Wen brought Xiao Chen along and led him to a small transportation formation. When the people guarding the formation saw Yi Wen, they said respectfully, Elder Yi, are you here to send someone off? Yi Wen nodded and said to Xiao Chen, Go up. Once you go up, you will be able to leave this damned place. I have already helped you settle your mission. Just go and hand it in. Before Xiao Chen stepped onto the transportation formation, he turned around and asked, Did you not pay any price for chopping off Song Ke's arm? After all, Song Ke was a peak master. Xiao Chen could not understand how Yi Wen could be so calm. Yi Wen smiled gently. The price is that I have to stay in this place for another 10 years. Now that I see that you are so lively, I feel that it is not worth it. All right, stop speaking nonsense. Scram. Pooh! Yi Wen suddenly kicked out and kicked Xiao Chen's butt. Xiao Chen fell forward and landed in front of the transportation formation. A light appeared on the ground. Countless talisman scripts flashed and Xiao Chen's body disappeared with a schwa sound. Everything was hazy and pitch black. Xiao Chen felt that his body seemed to be stretched infinitely. After that, spots of light appeared. After a while, he regained control of his body. Where is this? Xiao Chen looked at his surroundings and discovered that he was in a small room. There were no traces of formations on the floor. This should be a one-way transportation formation. Xiao Chen gently pushed open the door and walked out. He happened to see the counter in the hall of contributions. When the old man behind the counter saw Xiao Chen, he was mildly startled. The old man waved his hand and the wooden token at Xiao Chen's waist quickly flew into his hand. It turned out that he had returned to the hall of contributions. The old man looked at the number on the wooden token and smiled gently at Xiao Chen. Yi Chen, congratulations on completing your mission. These are your contribution points. The old man took out some black copper coins from under the counter and handed them to Xiao Chen. After counting them, Yi Wen rated you as outstanding. There is a total of 1,000 contribution points. Xiao Chun received the black copper coins. There was a total of 10 of them. They were completely black, round on the outside and square on the inside. They contained a strange aura that could not be faked. The old man continued to explain. Contribution points had a total of 3 colors. The white ones represented 1 contribution point, the red ones represented 1 contribution point, and the black ones represented 100 contribution points. Xiao Chun had lived in the underground world for close to 2 months. At this moment, he was in a rush to return to Qingyun Peak and report his safety to Lu Riyue. Hence, he did not have the patience to listen to the old man's words and prepared to leave. Wait a moment, don't leave yet. This is your first time completing a high-level mission. There is something I have to tell you, the old man called out to Xiao Chun and walked out. The old man revealed a faint smile on his aged face. Young man, don't be too anxious. This matter is the best reward for you. Xiao Chun did not understand. He slowly calmed down and followed the old man. The old man led Xiao Chun to the back of the first floor of the Hall of Contributions. Along the way, many people saw the old man personally leading the way for Xiao Chun. They all started to guess Xiao Chun's identity. The managing elder of the Hall of Contributions is actually personally leading the way for someone. Who is this person? I have never seen him before. Even the true inheritors do not receive such treatment. I have never seen him before either. What is his background? Could he be even more noble than the true inheritors? It's him. Look at the identity token on his waist. He is that disciple from Qingyun Peak. He is Yi Chen. Someone with sharp eyes in the crowd immediately said when he saw the silver identity token on Xiao Chen's waist. Currently, there were only 2 men in Qingyun Peak. One was Lu Suifeng and the other was Yi Chen. Everyone knew Lu Suifeng. Since he was not Lu Suifeng, then Yi Chen's identity was obvious. So, it really is him. He disappeared for 2 months and actually appeared again. The people from Wanren Peak have been searching for him for a long time. Chapter 208. I heard that the second strongest core disciple of Wanren Peak, Quick-Saber Linfeng, has already said that as long as he appears, he will look for him to settle the score. I saw a few Wanren Peak disciples leave earlier. They should be going to inform Linfeng. There will be a good show to watch later. When Xiao Chun heard all this, he did not pay too much attention to it. As long as it was not a senior making a move, he was confident that he could deal with any core disciple of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The so-called hindrance was just to increase his combat experience. However, Xiao Chun did not expect this old man's identity to be so deep. He was not as ordinary as he looked. The old man's expression was like an ancient well. There were no ripples at all. After they arrived at a large hall, he said indifferently, "We have arrived. This is the ranking hall. You can find your seat up there." The area of the large hall was very wide. There were 10 wooden walls in the middle. There was a group of people surrounding each wooden wall. They were either shaking their heads and sighing, or they had an impassioned expression. Everyone had a different expression. The old man brought Xiao Chun to the wooden wall at the very back. When the crowd saw the old man, they immediately opened up a path. Xiao Chun also discovered that the cultivators gathered in front of this wooden wall all had dispirited expressions. There is a total of 5,000 inner disciples in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The number has always been fixed. These 5,000 disciples are all ranked. The one you are looking at is the bottom 500 inner disciples. After the ranking war at the end of the year, the last 500 disciples will be stripped of their inner disciple status, the old man explained to Xiao Chun. So that's how it is. No wonder the inner disciples gathered here all had ugly expressions. It turns out that the elimination system of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was so strict. Every year they would eliminate 500 disciples. Xiao Chun looked at the wooden wall. There were 10 rows of wooden walls. Each row had 100 small wooden tablets. Every wooden tablet represented the identity of an inner disciple. On it was written the person's name, cultivation realm, peak, and other basic information. Xiao Chen looked around for a while, and found his own wooden tablet. It was very eye-catching. It was ranked last in the 10th row. That was the last of the 5,000 inner disciples in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. On it was written, Qinyun Peaks Yi Chen, Inferior Grade Martial Grand Master. The outer sect deacon of the Hall of Contributions took down the wooden plaque representing Xiao Chen. All the wooden plaques on the wooden wall started to move like a jigsaw puzzle. Everyone's name on the wooden wall started to move back by one rank. The old man held Xiao Chen's wooden tablet and walked to the wooden tablet in front. He placed Xiao Chen's wooden tablet in the 10th row. In an instant, Xiao Chen's rank rose by 500. The crowd immediately burst into an uproar. They had never seen anyone raise their rank by 500 before. This isn't fair. I've been working so hard to complete the sect's missions and accumulate my strength. Yet, I can't even advance by 10 ranks in a month. How could he advance by 500? There was no change in the old man's expression. I Tion, I Sect Master, I Tion, I Chen, I Enchen, I Chen, and There was no change in the old man's expression. He slowly turned around and looked at the crowd. The noisy chatter immediately stopped. It was incomparably quiet. If you are in the bottom 500 and complete a high-level sect mission for the first time and obtain an outstanding evaluation, you can also break away from the bottom 500. Only now did the crowd remember that the ranking hall did have such a rule. However, they were not able to accept high-level missions. The ones they could accept were all extremely dangerous high-level missions. It would be very difficult for them to obtain an outstanding evaluation. Thus, for a very long time, no one in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion used such a method to raise their ranking. That was why everyone was excited. Xiao Chen did not care about all this. To him, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was just a relay station. After he learned listening to the sword and communicating with it, he would leave. He did not have any plans to stay here for long. The Tianwu continent was very big. Xiao Chen had set his sights on the entire continent long ago. Perhaps the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was a very strong power in the Great Qin nation. However, when compared to the entire continent, or even the entire world, outside of the Tianwu continent was the Boundless Sea. After crossing the Boundless Sea, he heard that there were countless islands. There were also countless experts there. Thinking about it this way, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was nothing. Thus, Xiao Chen did not care much about his status as an inner disciple. Alright, I still have things to do, so I will take my leave first. As for the other rules, you will slowly come to understand them in the future, the old man said indifferently. After that, the old man gave Xiao Chen a meaningful look. He said, Finally, I will give you some words of advice. Young man, don't be too sharp. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't set your sights too far. For the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to exist, it is not as simple as you think. The so-called geniuses are the cheapest things here. Don't keep your heart suspended in the air. Sink down and merge with it. Take a good look at this peak. It is far more exciting than you imagine. Xiao Chen revealed an extremely shocked expression. This old man had only taken a quick glance, and it seemed like he had seen through Xiao Chen's thoughts. The old man's words caused Xiao Chen to enter deep thought. Don't keep your heart suspended in the air. Sink down and merge with it. Is he saying that I am arrogant? Never mind, I will take a look first. Since I am already here, Xiao Chen did not intend to leave immediately. He strode forward and arrived at the first wooden wall. That was the ranking of the top 500 disciples of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The wooden wall was the same as the other wooden walls. There were 10 rows of 50 people in each row. However, the background behind it was different. There was a faint layer of gold paint on it. It looked like a glory roll. However, being in the top 500 was also worthy of this glory. When one saw their name on it, they would feel proud. Survival of the fittest. This was a very good competitive system. It was able to retain the most outstanding talent. Not bad, Xiao Chun admired this ranking system. When he looked up, the first 10 names were as red as blood. They were very eye-catching among the black words. What made Xiao Chun feel strange was that these 10 people were not core disciples of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Xiao Chun did not know which peak they belonged to or what their cultivation realm was. There was only one name on the information board. The rest were all unknown. It was very mysterious. Could it be that the strongest disciples of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion are not the true inheritors? Xiao Chun thought to himself. He carefully counted to the back. He only saw the first true inheritor's name after 50. The true inheritor of Wanren Peak, Wang Qinian, was an inferior grade martial saint. Unexpectedly, he was only in the 50s. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun decided to look at the ranking of the so-called Quick Saber, Lin Feng. As he continued looking down, Xiao Chun saw Lin Feng's name in the 3rd row. Wanren Peak Core Disciple, Superior Grade Martial Saint. Wanren Peak's 2nd strongest core disciple, but he was only in the 100th rank. How exactly is the ranking on the wooden board divided? Why does it feel like it is not accurate? Xiao Chun started to doubt himself. Yi Chen. Just as Xiao Chun was deep in thought, someone called out his name from behind. When he turned his head to look, he discovered it was Ma Chen, who had gone to the spirit mine with him on a mission. When Ma Chen saw Xiao Chun turn around, he quickly walked over. He said in pleasant surprise, "It really is you. Junior brother Yi Chen, I have not seen you for a month. I thought something happened to you." When Xiao Chun saw this, he felt somewhat apologetic. He explained that he had no choice but to knock him out. He did not have any malicious intent. Ma Chen waved his hand and said, "You don't have to say it, I understand. Speaking of which, your background is not small. Even the young pavilion master personally sent people to look for you." Xiao Chun felt it was strange, so he asked, "You know about this as well? Does anyone else know?" Ma Chen shook his head and said, "There should not be anyone else who knows. I only came up half a month ago. I do not know what happened in the spirit mine. It has been under lockdown for a long time." The two of them chatted for a while. Xiao Chun understood a little about what happened after he left from Ma Chen. The things that happened in the spirit mine were not spread out. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion was as peaceful as it was in the past. No one outside knew that the shocking change that happened a month ago could turn into something that could threaten the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Xiao Chun remembered that Ma Chen had been here longer than him. He should know what was going on with the ranking. So he asked about his doubts. Ma Chen smiled and said, "This is very normal. The true inheritors of the 7 peaks are all passed down by the bloodline of the Peak Master. It is not a matter of talent. Sometimes, a true inheritor is not even as strong as an ordinary inner disciple." Xiao Chun was astonished. Would anyone be willing to become a Peak Master? If a Peak Master was not even as strong as a core elder, it was hard for Xiao Chun to imagine how such a person would be able to manage such a large peak. They would not. After all, such people are the minority. Furthermore, every peak has their own methods of passing down their cultivation. Before the old Peak Master died, he could pass down his cultivation to his descendants, Ma Chen continued to explain. As for the top 10 people, they are the strongest 10. They spend most of their time training outside and rarely return. So it is normal that we do not know their cultivation. I have seen the ranking competition at the end of last year. These 10 people are very strong, they definitely live up to their reputation. A few of them are able to defeat opponents of a higher cultivation realm. Furthermore, their cultivation methods are different from the orthodox inner disciples. They are all aiming for the divine saber camp. So that was the case. No wonder the old man told Xiao Chun that geniuses were the cheapest thing in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. If the top 20 were all the people that Ma Chen mentioned, then the old man's words were not exaggerated. What kind of genius could be more talented than someone who could defeat opponents of a higher cultivation realm? After Ma Chen answered Xiao Chen's question, he told him about the changes in the rankings. Aside from doing some refinement missions, one could also challenge an opponent in the same row as them. That was to say, one could challenge an inner disciple who was ranked 49 above them. Everyone had a chance to challenge them once a month. The person being challenged could choose not to accept the challenge. However, on the 15th of every month, if someone challenged you, you had to accept the challenge. Otherwise, you would automatically forfeit and be automatically defeated. Of course, the most crucial thing was the ranking competition at the end of the year. At that time, the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion would engage in a grand battle among the inner disciples. The points obtained in the battle were the most important factors in determining one's ranking. Of course, one's previous ranking was also very important. The points obtained were the same. However, if one's ranking was too far behind, it would be useless.